Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Sunday. Let me go ahead and set this room up real quick and then we can get started. So let me just get everything set up right here. Send out these links and we should be good to go, guys. Let's see. A few more things here. Today is February 14th, guys. We're halfway through February. I mean, it's been a great it has been a great month so far. It's a great year, actually. You know, overall for our trades, we're pretty much pretty nicely in profit overall. You know, looking at our results, so I'm pretty happy with the results so far. But you know, with the introduction of the new scalping strategy, I do anticipate there to be a lot more you know, profits to come for everyone. So I'm sure everyone else is as excited as I am because it's a huge breakthrough that we've come through with that new strategy, and everyone's been killing it so far. So that's a huge plus, not just for K2, but you know, the whole K2 fam as a whole, since everyone's, you know, able to profit on their own, not just depending on my, you know, my trades, obviously. So let me go ahead and finish setting up this room real quick, guys, and then we can get started. I'm going to send out this link real quick. Let's see. Yeah, looks like everything's good. So let me just send this link out real quick, guys, and then we can kick off this session. All right. Chart live. All right, let me send this link over to the other groups. All right, and then the last place I gotta send out is the Facebook and the Instagram. Let me just get this out real quick, and then we should be good to go, guys. Hey, what's up, Dilraj? How's it going, bro? Hey, Vico. Nice. Yeah, definitely. I'll send you guys a link right now, actually. Let me get that link for you guys, and then you guys can hop in on that as well, so that you guys can have, you know, real-time access to join the you know, the Zoom. Let me just get this link out real quick. Zoom. All right, guys. Send out the link for you guys right there. So you guys should be good to go. Let me let's go ahead and finish setting up this room real quick, guys. I have a couple other places to send out the link, and then we should be good to go. So I'll go through the charts and I'll see, you know, everything else that's going on through the market. Since the market just opened, you know, obviously the market's not going to be stable right now. So we're not really going to be looking to take any risky trades. We'll be looking for trades, but we're going to make sure that they're good trades before, you know, we actually decide to take them, because you know, last thing you want to do is enter a trade now, and then in a few hours it reverses on you completely, which, you know, happens sometimes. So let me go ahead and just send this link out to the Facebook and the Instagram real quick, so we can get the rest of the people up in here, and we should be good to go. So I'm gonna send that out, and then last place is a Facebook and the Instagram, and then we should be good to go. Yeah, I'll give it some time. There's only 17 people in here right now. You know, obviously it is Sunday, so happy Sunday to you guys if you guys are just getting into this room. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend, but I'm ready to get back into these profits. You know, I came back in the market today, and it was good because all of our positions from last week hit full TP. So our odd NZD position here that we were holding from last week, it just hit full TP there for 50 pips. And then Friday before market close, our Euro odd position here hit full TP as well for 55 pips. So last week was a pretty good week. It was, I mean, it was a slow week overall. This whole month has been kind of slow, but we're still hitting TPs. So, you know, as long as we keep hitting TPs and, you know, remain within range for like stop loss. I don't think we've had that many stop losses this month so far, but as long as we continue to win, even though there are not that many trades, you know, profit's profit, guys. So that's the main thing that I have to remind you guys. You know, don't try to force trades that aren't there. Only take trades when, you know, they're available, because I know there's a lot of people that are trying to force trades right now when the market's not so great. And by not so great, I mean that the market is just very, very unpredicted, because it just keeps bouncing around. I mean, you guys have seen, sorry, I'm taking a screenshot of the live session so I can post on the Instagram, but you guys have seen how the market has been moving for the past, I mean, this entire month, it's just been back and forth. So instead of, taking these risky trades, it might be best for you to just, sit it out and just wait for perfect setups. But we'll definitely be looking for some scalps, because the way that the market's moving now, it's actually pretty perfect for scalps, because we're able to get in and out of trades before, those whipsaws happen. So I think I got this on the IG, so I think we're good to go, guys. So let me just confirm that real quick. And we should be good to go. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through a pretty basic analysis of pretty much all of our pairs here, just so that we can prepare for, the trading week, obviously. So let's check out the chat real quick. Hey, John, how's it going, bro? John said, thanks for the Zoom link. Zoom is so much more readable than YouTube. Yeah, guys, the Zoom is, you guys have I think it's like 4K resolution on Zoom. So you guys have very good quality on Zoom. If you guys are here on the YouTube, it's fine. You guys aren't going to have the best quality, but you guys will still be able to follow along and copy my trades, especially when I'm taking these scalp moves that, everyone wants me to call out for the most part. And just a reminder, guys, if you guys have questions, maybe put them in the YouTube, because I'm not checking the Zoom chat. But yeah, David, I literally just started a few minutes ago. I just saw your message right now. But yeah, if you guys have questions, put them in the YouTube. You guys can have both up. What I usually do, or what I recommend people do, is just have the Zoom link for the video and audio, and then just have the YouTube up to ask questions, because I don't want to go in between both, because if we do that, I might miss out on some trades. In 1 second, let me just open the window real quick. All right, looks like we're good to go, guys. So let's get started. Eric said, like the video. Yeah, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like the stream on the YouTube, that'll definitely help. It'll help us reach more people that need help with trading. And, it'll give you more incentive to continue coming on these live sessions to give you guys free advice and give you guys trade ideas, throughout the week. So with that said, let's get started. So I'm looking at US 30 right now. Obviously, I'm looking for some scalps here. We don't have any close zones here. So obviously there's no entries available, but as price continues to move on, these zones will continue to develop around this area where we can take some trades. If you guys took this, I think there was one last trade here right before market close that a few people caught. And if you guys caught that, it was a really good trade. I think it was right here. Yeah. So if you guys aren't familiar with the new K2 Snipe strategy, basically, I'll show you guys what the breakdown is. It's a very, very simple strategy, but it's very, very profitable. So I'll just show you right here exactly what we were looking for. We have a zone here, and I'll just rewind it to that specific point, because there was a good amount of people that caught this trade. I wish I caught it, but it was towards the end of the market, and I didn't want to risk it. So basically, for this strategy, it's super simple. It's just the K2 Snipe Strategy. US 30 10-minute time frame. And basically, first you're going to confirm wick rejection off K2 pivot, any pivot. Second, confirm wick rejection off K2 SR zone. Lastly, you're just going to confirm wick rejection off K2 pivot does not touch candle body. And after that, you can enter on the open of the following candle. And then after that, we use a set TP stop loss. So TP stop loss fixed 500 pips. So for example here, you can see that this strategy is crazy simple, right? There's not really much guesswork here. You just want to confirm a wick rejection off K2 pivot. Right here, obviously it rejects off the green pivot. It's really close. So depending on how you were looking at it, so if you entered it on the next candle, you can see there that it actually touches the pivot, right? Because obviously you don't enter it while it's still running. You wait for it to close. So for example here, we have the wick rejection off the pivot, and then we have the wick rejection off the structure here. Requirement number 1 and 2 been met. The third requirement, you just want to make sure that the pivot doesn't touch the body. So it's slightly below it. It doesn't necessarily touch the body. There's a little gap there. So all the requirements are met. Once those are met, you just enter on the open of the falling candle, which would be right here. And then you would set your TP stop loss to 500 pips. So I'll set this up right here. And this right here, obviously, would have hit. So we let that play out straight to full TP within, I guess, 10 minutes or so. off the next candle. So I missed that right there, but this is basically what we're looking for here, guys. So this was a trade before market close on Friday. And we're basically looking for the same thing right now off current price. So like I mentioned right here, there are no zones up here right now. But that's what we're waiting for. So as price continues to move on, new zones will be developed here. So if you guys are brand new to K2 and you guys aren't familiar with these zones, basically what they do is they plot the strongest points of rejection on the chart for you, and they automatically populate. So like, for example, over here, if we were to replay it back here, you can see that these zones are totally off, right? They're way up there. But as we move along, you can see that new zones get created, like right there and right there, as price continues to move. So what we're doing is we're just waiting for these entries to, appear. And once they do, we just take them as they qualify for the requirements here. So obviously there's no zones here yet, but as price continues to move along, we'll be able to look for new entries. Ali said, how do I get the Zoom link? Ali, go on the Telegram group and all the premium groups. I sent out the link for the Zoom right there. So if you can go grab it, it's going to be in the premium groups for K2 on the Telegram. You'll see it on there. So let's see. Super Sam said, how do you trade something if it's an all-time high? You trade it the same way we've been trading it this whole time. Super Sam, there's nothing different here. I mean, obviously you can see, let me see. Okay, so for example, right here, I'll show you the same exact strategy that we were applying. These are some trades that we took last week. So you can see right here that the all-time high was, let's mark it from right here, right? So this was the all-time high. And I mean, it doesn't matter. The strategy continues to work, whether it's at an all-time high or whether it's at an all-time low. For example, let me just see if I can find an entry here for you. I mean, nothing really changes. The strategies work regardless, whether it's at all-time high or whether it's not. I feel like all-time high is it's a psychological thing, right? You're like, oh, it's at all-time high. I'm not going to take any buys. But price just continues to pushing higher and higher, right? It's at an all-time high here, but it keeps pushing higher and higher. I think you have to probably get out of that mindset where you just get too focused on like, oh, it's at an all-time high, so it can't keep pushing up. Because if you think that way, that's how everyone else thinks. And guess what happens? Everyone that thinks that loses, because they get stuck on that whole mindset that, it's at an all-time high, it can't keep pushing higher. But in reality, it keeps pushing higher. So for example, here, this is the all-time high, right? At this point, you're probably not going to want to take any buys. But I'll just show you here the same strategy that I just applied, applying it again. And I know this because we took this last week. So I know that this is a valid entry here. So we have a zone right here. I'm going to hide the K2SR zones. And the requirements are met, right? It's the same exact thing that we just looked at. We have a wick rejection off the K2 pivot right here, which is this red pivot. So that's requirement number one. Requirement number two is a wick rejection off the K2SR zone. So just looking at this here, it's a clean entry right there, right? Wick rejection off the pivot, wick rejection off the K2SR zone. And you just want to make sure that the pivot doesn't touch the body. Pivot's way down here. It's way far from the body. So you enter on the open of the falling candle. You enter a long position right here. This is the all-time high, right? If you're like worried about trading at the all-time high, then you probably wouldn't take this trade because you're like, oh, it's probably just going to keep coming down, right? But we don't trade that way here. We follow our requirements. We know the strategy works. So we follow the strategy regardless whether it's at an all-time high or all-time low. So right here, this is all set up. We enter that trade. And what do you know? Full TP. Broke right past through the all-time high. So, you have to step out of that mindset. And like, for example here, so like, let's see when the market opened last week. Let me pull this up real quick. All right. So like right here, let me see when the market opened last week. It was the 7th. So on the 7th right here, if you remember, I'm pretty sure you were in the room on the 7th, right? Super Sam. So basically right here on the 7th, what happened was the market closed right here on the 5th, right? So the market closed right here on the 5th. It reopened on the 7th. If you were in my live session last Sunday, what happened was we looked at the sentiment, and I think it was like 85 or 75% of people were short because everyone was like, oh, it's at an all-time high. So everyone took short positions, right? Because they thought price was going to go down, right? It's the same thought process that you were just thinking about right now. Everyone thinks that price is going to go down, but you know what happened? It did the complete opposite. It went down slightly, and then throughout the entire week, it went way past that high, and it never dropped down. It dropped down slightly below, but it just kept pushing up higher and higher, right? So you can't get in that mindset where you think, oh, it's at an all-time high, it's never going to keep pushing up. Right here again, all-time high. What happened right here? Pushed right through it. All-time high. Pushed right through it. You can't think like a beginner trader, guys. Like if you think how everyone else is thinking, you're probably not going to succeed at this, because the banks and institutions trade opposite of everyone. So if the majority of people are trading short, you should be trading the opposite. You should be trading long, because you don't want to trade where everyone's trading. If you trade like a sheep, you're going to end up getting slaughtered like a sheep, right? And for us, we know that the strategy works. So, even if it's at an all-time high, we continue to follow the strategy, regardless of the fact. And if we lose a trade, it's fine. We just skip the next trade, and then we take it once it shifts in the other direction. So that's just, quick explanation for how that works. You just have to change your thought process with trading, because if you keep thinking the same way everyone else does, you're probably not going to succeed in this long term, because, majority of people don't succeed at trading. Obviously, you have to look at things way differently than everyone else, or you're just going to keep ending up in the same traps that everyone ends up in. But yeah, just looking at US 30 right now, it's at an all-time high. Just because it's at an all-time high doesn't mean I'm going to avoid long positions. If I see an entry here, I'm still going to take it. And then vice versa. If price swings the other direction, I'll take it for a sell as well. So one thing to do right now is we should look at the IG sentiment to see, where everyone's trading. So IG sentiment, US 30. So let's check that out, guys. We got IG sentiment right here for US 30. So 66% of people are short. I don't know if this thing's been updating, because it's been 66% since like middle of last week, unless people are just not trading US 30 right now, which, could be the thing as well. But the sentiment for US 30 has been at 66% for the past week or so. So I probably wouldn't base everything off this. I would just keep entering trades how we normally are. So like, for example, here, like I mentioned, there are no zones here. So like, I'm going to use this for an example right here. So say if we have a zone right here, just, I'm just going to put a random zone here. So say we have a zone right here, price ends up coming down, rejects off the pivot in the zone or something like that, somewhere around here. And then it comes back up, right? I'm going to take that buy, even though it's at an all-time high. Vice versa, if price ends up swinging below here, and then say it swings back up right here, rejects off the zone, like say if the pivots like end up over here and rejects off that point and heads down, then I'm going to take a sell. So I'm not going to have a bias here. I'm just going to wait for an entry to appear. When it appears, I'll take the trade. But I'm not going to be stuck on either taking longs or shorts just because it's, at this specific price point. So just keep that in mind. Let me check the chat real quick and see if there's anything else that I missed before we continue on. Yeah, no problem, Super Sam. I'm pretty sure you're going to want me to analyze NASDAQ 100, right? So I'll take a look at that a little later today, because I know it's one of your favorite pairs. That and I think gold, right? Those are the two main ones that you have me analyze weekly, which I don't mind. I'll do it for you guys. Eric mentioned, Shawn, 2 questions. How do you get the high and lows to show on your chart with their exact numbers? And when does US 30 close tomorrow? So Eric, to get the highs and the lows on the chart, what I use is I go to the indicators right here, just type in pivot. It's a built-in indicator. It's this one right here. Built-in indicators for TradingView. It's pivot points, high, low. So when you turn that on, you'll have like these little high lows that are getting plotted on your chart as it continues to move along. And for your second question, you're asking when does US 30 close tomorrow? So tomorrow, let me just check real quick. Time zone converter. It closes at 1900 hours at +1 GMT. So let me just find that real quick. GMT. So I'm not sure where you're located, Eric, but I mean, I should probably know because we talked about this before. I think it's +1 GMT right here. Let me just pull this up real quick. I put the time over here. So yeah, it's at 1900 GMT +1. So if you go to the timezoneconverter.com, you can put your local time, and then for here, just change this to 1900, right? So it's gonna close 10 a.m. my time. I'm not sure where you're located, Eric. I think you're on the East Coast, right? I'm pretty sure you're not on the West Coast with me. But if that's the case, you're probably Eastern time. So it'd probably be about 1 p.m. your time, because it's 10 a.m. my time. That's why I'm probably not going to trade US 30 tomorrow. Or if I do, I'm just going to scalp it. And I'm going to scalp it like really early in the morning. I'm just going to scalp like 6 a.m. up till like 8. And then I'm probably going to, log off around 10. So it just depends on where. Oh, nice. So awesome. Gregory just mentioned that daily FX provided IG says 76% net short. So, with that said, if there's 76 net short for US 30, I'm probably going to take some buys because I don't want to trade where everyone else is trading. So thanks for mentioning that, Greg. Let me just pull that up here, and I'm just going to look at it real quick because I didn't know that. Let's see. Daily FX, or I'll just check US 30 sentiment. All right, perfect. So we got it right here, IG sentiment. Looks like it's not updated on the website for whatever reason for IG, but it is updated on daily FX. So looking at this here, yeah, so you guys can see here that the sentiment, it shows, who's long and who's short. I don't see US 30 here. Oh, here we go. Or no, US 500, German, Wall Street. Okay, so 76% of people are short for US 30. So I'm probably going to go the opposite. I'm going to go long, where I'm going to have a long bias because so you see how there's a lot of people here that are short. This is what's probably going to happen. They're probably going to bring price down slightly. So a lot of people are going to, I think this is usually what happens here, right? They always try to trick people because they want people to enter those short positions. So like right here, like say for example, this is the all-time high, right? Which obviously this is the all-time high. What they'll do is they'll push price slightly down, and then people will just enter more short positions, right? As soon as this keeps stacking up, like if there's more and more sellers that enter the market, like for example, here we have 76. If this keeps adding up to like 80%, the market makers and institutions are going to make more money when these people get stopped out, right? So it's 76% right now. They're probably going to drop price slightly, and then when you least expect it, so this is what's going to happen. Most people, what they do is they enter a short position right here because they're like, oh, it's all-time high, nice rejection off this point. What they do is they enter a short position right here, and then their stop loss is like right here, right? Like right above it. They have a tight stop loss. So what happens, they push price slightly down, they push it up, and they stop them out, right? As soon as that happens, what happens again? It drops again a little further. People enter another short position right here. Their stop loss, same place, around that same area. They stop them out again right there. And then they just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You're going to see this pretty much range. And then what will happen again the last time, it'll probably drop farther, like down here. And once this happens, a lot of people are going to start stacking sells because you're going to be like, oh, it's finally dropping. When you least expect it, it's going to drop pretty close to like down here. And then what will happen, it'll just spike up all of a sudden. And that always happens, right? It just happens all the time. And you guys just have to be careful for that. Don't fall for those tricks. But just for example here, I'll just mark this up here so that you guys can see that this is the high. And then I'm pretty sure that it's going to pass this. It's going to keep pushing up because as more people enter these short positions, the only way that the institutions and market makers make money is to stop all these people out. And that's basically what's going to happen. They're just going to give people some hope that it's probably going to drop. And then it's just going to keep spiking. I can see this spiking up, then coming back down, then going sideways, then spiking back up again to stop everyone out until it starts shifting, right? So they're going to shift it until the sentiment starts to even out. So right now it's 76. Once it goes down to like 50-50, then they'll probably drop it. At that point, then they'll drop it down, and then they'll do the same thing over and over again. They'll do that, and then they'll just bring it all the way back up. That's just, that's how the market works. I'm sure you guys have seen that before. And just looking at US 30 from a bigger perspective. So if you look at US 30 on the higher time frame, you can see here that it's been bullish for a long time. They do this right here. They'll bring it down a little bit, and then they'll shoot it back up to stop people out. Bring it down a little bit, shoot it back up to stop people out. And then once the sentiment gets like 50-50, that's when they really drop it. They drop it down here. And then what happens at this point? At this point, sentiment is like, it's back to how it was right now, like 76%, whatever, because everyone's just chasing this drop right here. And then they spike price all the way up to stop everyone out. And then when it's up here, people enter long positions, right? So people shift from short to long. Once that happens, they do the opposite and drop it all the way back down. So you guys got to keep that in mind. Make sure that your trade psychology is on point. You guys have to think on both sides of the chart. Like, don't think of just trading one direction. Make sure that you're thinking like you're playing chess. Like you're trying to think of what other retail traders are doing, and then you want to do the opposite of that. Because obviously, if you keep doing what everyone else is doing, you're probably not going to last in the game long term. So that's pretty much that for US 30. Other than that, let's see what else we've got to look at. I'm just curious to see what happens here. I think what might happen here is this might come down, test the pivot, and then it might just shoot right back up. But we'll see. You know, once there's entries, and we'll take some entries. But I mean, at this time, zones are way down here. There's no zones up here, so we have no entries. We just got to wait and see how the market moves from this point. But we'll keep an eye from this all-time high, and we'll see if it pushes up. I think it's going to push up, my perspective. Other than that, let's see what else we've got over here. Let's see. Biko's asking, what are the best indicators to use with a free TradingView account since I'm limited to how many things can be placed on the chart at one time? Biko, so it really depends on what you're trying to apply, right? If you're trying to apply some intraday trades or some swing trades, then the zones would be good. I use the K2SR zone. Like for Forex, I trade on the 4-hour time frame. The only indicators that I use on the 4-hour time frame are the K2SR indicator right here, so I can identify the rejection points, but they're not necessary to leave on the chart. Once you draw the zones on the chart, you can just take this off, and then you have your zones already placed on the chart. On top of that, I use the momentum indicator so that I know where to trade. Like for example, here, we identified this trade right here because I identified a rejection from this point using the K2SR indicator. Obviously there was a zone down here before, but it disappeared. So there was a zone down there. So I identified a rejection point. After that, I identified the momentum right here. So once this happened, I'm like, all right, I'm only going to take buys because we have a bias here. So every time price broke structure right here, I took a buy. It broke structure and closed. I took a buy up from here, full TP, you know, easy as that. Again, right here, another break and close past structure, another buy position right there, full TP. And then again, right here, see this trade right here? This is the trade that I called last week. Let's see, odd NZD. See. All right. So same thing right there. I identified this right here. See, I identified the break and close past structure right there. And then what happened was we took the buy position, full TP. So if you're trading intraday or swing, you know, obviously these are the good indicators to use if you're using the K2SR strategy. Vice versa, if you're scalping, then, you know, if you're scalping on the 10-minute, you use the K2 pivots indicator and the zone indicator as well. So it doesn't matter if you're on the free or if you're on the paid version of TradingView, you can apply these indicators regardless, because I think you have like a max 3 indicators at a time, right? And we usually only use 2 indicators at a time anyways. And for these K2SR zones, you just need to draw the zones, then you can take it off your chart. So it's not necessary to have it on all the time. So just keep that in mind. But that's pretty much all that I use. The main ones I use are the K2 pivots, K2SR, K2TS, which is a momentum indicator right here. And you can see that all these lined up here as well. So we could have taken this long position right here, the same one that I mentioned down there, full TP off that. And then again, right here, if you wanted to take a pivot entry off this, that'd be another long position right there, you know, on its way to full TP as we see it right here. So it just depends on what you're applying, Biko, but it just really depends on what strategy you're trying to focus on. So depending on that, then you can figure out which indicators you need. But the ones that I use the most are these 3 right here. K2TS, which is the momentum indicator, K2SR, which are the zones, and the K2 pivots, which, you know, indicates the pivot points. And, you know, that's pretty much it. So let me see if there's anything else here before we continue on. Mama Underground said Snipe Strategy is working for UK100 too. Yeah, Mama. So sorry, it's funny because your name is Mama, but we use this on everything. We use it on indices. We use it on all the indices. We use it on Forex. We use it on commodities like gold, silver. We use it on Bitcoin, cryptos, and like pretty much anything really. You know, I could show you UK100 right here. So looking at this over here, you can see that we had a zone right here, right? So there was a zone right here. So if you were to take this trade over here, you can see that it was the same requirements. So if I go and draw the thing right here, we have the rejection off the pivot, this orange pivot right here, rejection off the pivot, rejection off the structure. If you were to take this scalp right here, long position, I think the sweet spot for this is like 200 or 250 pips. So if your TP stop loss was, I think it was 200 actually, 250 might be a little too wide. So it's about 200 right there. If that was your TP stop loss, you let it run, full TP. So you can see that it works perfectly fine. It's not just on US 30, it works on all the indices. So that's one entry right there. There's a bunch of entries right here as well. So if I go ahead and I'll just draw these zones right here, and I'll just show you that they work pretty much any indice that you really want to apply it on. So if I turn that on right there, or actually, let me see if these are proper. Yes, we have that zone right there, and then we have another one right here as well. So showing you this on UK 100, it works. I mean, it works exactly the same. So if we were to go ahead and rewind it to like somewhere over here, let's see if there's some entries over here. Yeah, so there's actually one entry right here. So the same requirements again right here. We have the rejection point. Oh, let me turn this off. Sorry. So we have the rejection point off the K2 pivot right here, this green pivot. Rejection point off the K2 SR level right here, the zone. So you see those two right there. You enter a long position right here. And, you know, like I mentioned, the sweet spot for this is 200 pips, nothing too crazy. But I mean, if you take a decent lot size, you can make a lot of profit off that. So right there, if you take this trade and then you let it run, full TP. See right there, full TP. Like barely, like little to no drawdown. I just is short drawdown for like the first few candles right here, and then it just shot all the way up. And then there's another one right here as well. So there's one entry right there. There's another entry right here. You can see that these entries stack because we have another one right here where it rejects off the pivot and the structure. So same thing right there. Enter another long position right here for 200 pips. So if you enter that one as well, I mean, obviously, you know, it hits full TP because it just stacks positions again right there. So if you miss that position, there's actually a bunch right here. There's another one right here. This next green candle. See this one right here, rejection off the pivot and the structure. Same situation, enter long position right here for 200 pips, full TP, right? Obviously, you know that it hits full TP. There's one inch right there. There's another one right here, this red candle. You can see it rejects off this yellow pivot. So another 200 pips right there. If you missed that one, there is another one over here. Let's see. Another one right here, this red one rejects off the green pivot right there. Another 200 pips. Another one right here, this green candle rejects off this yellow pivot in the structure. You know, another 200 pips right there. I mean, there's a whole bunch you could have taken. And then there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So in total here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 trades that you could have taken. If you missed these first two ones right here, you could have entered late over here, entered late over here, entered late over here. But the same thing applies all around. It doesn't matter what, you know, what index you want to trade. It works on UK 100. Another one that people have been using lately was the DAX. I've seen people use it on the DAX and they've been killing it, like making a ton of profits right here off this as well. And you guys have seen, you know, I keep track of everyone's profits. Like whenever someone makes profits trading with K2, I save it here. And you can see that all these profits here from last week, even Cam over here, he traded Bitcoin and like 86 bucks off that right there. CT, he used it off Euro Odd right here. He made 4,000 off that. Sisuk over here used it on US 30. Eric over here, he's in the chat as well. Dude killed it over here with all these trades, you know, UJ, EU, GC. You can literally take it on whatever you want to take it off. Right here, Yaktara took it off US 30, UK 100, S&P 500, Odd NZD. He took all these trades, and these are all using the same strategy. Here, Jeremy, she likes to trade US 30. She locked in like on Friday, I think 707 bucks. So it works on anything. If there's a pair that you want me to look at, I can pull it up and I can show you that it works. You know, it just really depends on what you want to trade. But there's no limitations. Literally, if you want to trade this on anything, you can. So like, for example, right here off the DAX, there was actually there's a bunch of entries. There's one right here as well. So there's one like right here. If you wanted to take this trade, let's hide that. Same thing again right here on the DAX. You have the rejection off the pivot right here and the structure. If you were to take that trade there, I don't know what the sweet spot for the DAX is because I don't trade it. But if we just put, you know, random TP there, it hits full TP right there as well. So it works on the DAX. I mean, it just really depends. If you have something specific, I can take a look. Mama Underground. But if not, I mean, you can just follow along and see what we're looking to take here. But yeah, back to US 30. Let me see if there's an entry there. All right, so let me see if there's a zone that's coming up soon. Not yet. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, obviously if a zone like populates over here, then we would take a scalp upwards, but we'll just have to wait and see how this ends up playing out for, you know, the next couple of minutes. It's only 6 p.m. So keep in mind the market just opened. So the volatility is going to be very slow. And on top of that, tomorrow's a US holiday. It's President's Day. So volatility is just going to be overall slow today for the most part. But, you know, we're still going to try to take some trades if we do see anything appear. Let's see if there's anything else here before we continue on. Karen said, nice K2 shirt. I think we all need one, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, definitely. If you guys haven't hit the like button, if you guys can do that for us, you know, that definitely help us out with growing this channel so we can continue helping more people that need help trading. But yeah, definitely, you know, we got to get these shirts out to everybody so that everyone would be rocking out the K2. Let's see if there's anything else here real quick. Eric said, good deal. I'm going to try and get some scalps in tomorrow. Yeah, same here, Eric, but just make sure you close all your trades before that, you know, that specific time when the market closes, or you should be fine. Unless you have a funded account, then that's all you'd have to worry about. But if you're doing a challenge, I don't think it really applies to here as well. See, Smoke said, bless up. Can you show me a sell scalp, please? Yeah, let me show you a sell scalp, bro. So let me see if there is a, I mean, it's the same process. It's just in the opposite direction. Like for example, here, let me just zoom out from here. We can just go back to a random time period, I guess, like somewhere around here. Yeah, let me get this. I'm trying to find an entry here somewhere for a sell. Let me see if I could find. The thing with US 30 is that it wasn't really selling very much recently. So it's kind of, okay, here, perfect. So we have an entry right here. Let me just draw this up for you guys right here. It's the same requirements. It's just in the opposite direction. So let me just go and rewind this to this area over here. So if you're looking for a sell using the same strategy, it's the same thing. It's just the opposite way. So for example, right here, you know, same requirements right there. You just identify the rejection off the pivot, rejection off the structure. So it's rejecting off the red pivot right here and the orange pivot. And it's also rejecting off the structure. So if you were to see this in the opposite direction, there was another one right here. So there's a couple entries. There's actually, no, these wouldn't qualify. This would be the only one that's really available. So if you were to see this right here, it's the same thing. You find the rejection off the pivot, you find the rejection off the structure, you take a short position right here off the candle close, and then your TP stop loss is for 500 pips. The same thing every single time. You know, we're just going in for these quick profits. We're not trying to hit these home runs. We just want to make a profit and pop out and you know, continue on with our trades. So if you took that trade right there, straight to TP. And it's the same gist of it. You know, it doesn't matter if you're taking a buy or a sell. It's the same thing. Rejection off the pivot, rejection off the structure. You take the sell position and then you write it down. I don't know if there was another one that was here as well. Let me see if I could find another one. All right, cool. So there's another one right here, actually. There's like two of them. So there's one right there, and then there's another one right here, and one down here as well. So same thing again right here. We're looking for the rejection off the pivot and the structure. So right here, we have this red candle right here, or no, it's kind of messy. So this, it depends on how you saw this. If you're following these candles as they're moving, you might have entered these trades right here because they move pretty quick on the 10-minute. So actually there's one right here, this red candle. Let's go back to that right here. It's the same situation. We have the rejection off the green pivot right here and rejection off the structure, right? Off that red candle. So right there, rejection off that green pivot, rejection off that candle. I mean, rejection off the zone and the pivot. You enter a short position right here for the same thing that we just did, 500 pips. And then you let it run. Oh, looks like this might have hit stop. So like, this is a risky one right here. Actually, if I look closer, this didn't reject off the pivot. If you go really close, so let me just zoom in from here. This is what I mean about it being kind of hard to see. So that same green, that candle I was looking at, you can see that it actually doesn't reject off the pivot if you look close enough. So actually we would have skipped this one right here. But what you're looking for is this right here. You want a clean rejection off the pivot and the structure. See how this wick rejects off these two pivots and off the structure? That's a clean rejection right there for a clean entry. You would have taken that. This right here, it's kind of iffy. That's why I was mentioning that you have to look really closely, because right here, it actually doesn't even touch the pivot. It goes right below it, but it doesn't actually touch it. So you would have skipped this trade, and then you would have just waited for the next one. Let me see if we could find one over here before. See, I wanted to take this one right here, but the pivot actually touches the body, so we wouldn't have taken that one. See if there's anything else here real quick. No. See, this green one would have been nice, but it didn't touch the pivot. And with scalping, guys, you guys got to remember that scalping is a game of patience. You guys can't just be entering every single trade. You got to be really selective with your trades, because if you get too greedy and you start to take like a bunch of bad trades, you know, things could end, you know, very badly. Let me see this right here. There's another entry right here, actually, off this green candle. So right here, it's the same thing we were looking for. We were looking for a rejection off the pivot, rejection off the structure. Right there. You had those lined up in a short position right here. Same thing. 500 pips, you let it run. It looks like it got really close to TP and then it stopped out. So this happens sometimes. If this happens where you get stopped out, you know, it's part of the game, guys. You guys take losses sometimes. And then once this loses right here, you stop taking sells. For me, when I have one loss for a sell, then I just take a break. I stop taking sells. I wait for it to swing the other direction, and then I'll take buys instead of these sells. So like you can see that the market gets kind of choppy right here, right? There's another entry right here, but since we lost this one, I'm not taking any more sells. I'm waiting for buys before I re-enter the market. Let's see, so there's some buys right here, maybe. It doesn't hit the structure. Yeah, and generally if the market, so you usually want to scalp when the market's moving pretty smooth like this right here. So you can see it's a smooth move up. We take buys this direction, smooth move down, we take sells. But once price gets a little choppy right here where the pivots cross over a lot, this is where we wait. We don't take any trades anymore. And then we wait for it to smoothen out again. So like right here, it starts to smoothing out again. Let's see if there's any entries down here. Okay, perfect. So price started to smoothing out again right here. And you guys can see that it's pretty obvious, you know, when the market is choppy or when it's moving smoothly. But like for right here, for example, when the market starts to smoothen out again. So right here, you can see it's a smooth move down. We can take all these pivot entries right here. There's actually a couple entries as it moves down right here. Like for example, right here, we have a rejection off the pivot, rejection off the structure right here. So you obviously would take that short position right there to full TP. You want to take trades when price is moving smoothly, like it's moving smooth down here. This is fine. Price starts to get a little choppy right here. You start to just wait a little bit. As it starts to smoothen out this direction, you take buys. Smoothens out this direction, you take sells. Choppy, you hold off. Right here, again, it starts to smoothen out. The way you can see if price is starting to smoothen out is if the pivots start to spread out like they are right here, and they start to angle in the same direction. This is a nice drop down right here. Nice drop down, nice drop up. Choppy, avoid this. But again, right here, we have this entry where this red candle rejects off this green pivot and this structure. So if you have that right there, you enter a short position right over here. And then the same thing that I mentioned, you know, you just have 500 pip TP stop loss. Once you set that up right there, you let it run, and then full TP right there. So you guys can see how easy it is to apply this. And, you know, obviously it just depends on what you're trying to apply. You can use this on US 30. You can use it on anything really. You know, if there's something that you guys want me to show you, I can show you. I guess one thing that I can show you guys is Bitcoin, because a lot of people were asking about Bitcoin. You know, Camo, what he asked over the weekend, if you guys are in the premium, Camo asked about that trade because he took this trade. He was like, caught this by chance. He made this profit. He was like, did the K2 indicators predict this? And I said, yeah, it actually predicted it 4 times because he took that same trade and there was a bunch of pivot entries right here. So if I go back to this weekend, so he took this trade over here. And then he was asking if, you know, this would apply using the K2 Snipe strategy, and it works on everything. It's not just US 30. It works on cryptos. It works on Bitcoin. I mean, sorry, Bitcoin is a crypto. It works on cryptos. It works on indices. It works on Forex. I mean, it works on literally anything that you guys want to trade. So I'll just show you an example here for Bitcoin. So right here for Bitcoin, you can see that obviously, you know, there was an entry right here, or where was it at? Yeah, entry right here. There was a couple entries actually. So looking at this right here, there was an entry right here. There's actually 2 entries right here, or 3 entries. So depending on what you were looking at, so if you were looking at this one up here, there's 1 entry. If you missed this entry, you could have just waited for this one right here because there's 2 more entries right here. But it doesn't matter which one you took. If you took either one of those, and then you just, pretty much just let it run from that point, obviously it would hit full TP right there, right? So it doesn't matter if you took this entry, it would hit full TP. If you took this entry, hit full TP. If you took this entry, they all hit full TP regardless. So it works on cryptos. One thing that we looked at over the weekend too is XRP. So this is one that I don't necessarily trade, but obviously right here, if you took any of these trades over here, these would have hit too. So for example, right here, we have this rejecting off this, where was it at? Yeah, it's rejecting off the pivot right here, off this upper pivot, and then it's an entry. So I wouldn't have taken this trade, but if you, some people, I think someone was looking at it. If you took this XRP trade, I think it would have hit. Yeah, I mean, this is a risky trade. I personally wouldn't have taken this because it rejects off both sides. So I probably would have waited, and then I probably would have taken something like this right here, because there's actually another entry that's available right here. Same thing. You have the rejection off the green pivot right here, rejection off the structure. If you were to take that for a short position right there, obviously you let it run full TP, and then you just keep rinse and repeat, same strategy over and over again. So that's about it for that. If you guys have any other questions, just put them in the chat and I can take a look. Otherwise, I'm gonna try to look for some trades for myself because I'm trying to hop into some trades here as the market starts to smoothen out a bit. Where's the markup that I did? So I did a markup for US 30 earlier. I mean, it's all good. I probably deleted it on accident. It's all good. So I'll just redraw the zones if I see any here. Yeah, so nothing here yet. I'm just waiting for some zones to pop up over here so we can start taking some trades. Otherwise, I'm going to take a look at the chat and see if there's anything else to look at before we continue on. So let's see. Yeah, no problem, Smokes. Randall said, hey, Shawn, my K2 V2 SR lines are cutting off and not continuing all the way. How do I fix that? So Randall, in order to fix that, just go to your settings right here, K2 SR V2, go to settings, and then change your lines length to 500. So you set that. So I think by default, it's at 100, right? So if you do 100, they cut off right here, right? It doesn't go across the entire screen. If you change it to 500, it'll cover the entire screen. So that's what I do right there. Quick fix, not too difficult. Let's see, Eric said, sometimes you get a few trades a day and other you get 15. Yeah, exactly, Eric. It just depends on the market conditions, and that's the cool thing about this strategy. You can trade this during London session. You can trade it during Asia session. You can trade it during US session. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to trade, trades will come up and will be available from time to time. Other than that, I think that's it for the questions right now, guys. So I'm going to look at the Forex pairs. Meanwhile, I'm going to go and draw my zones for the week so that you guys can see, where the rejection points are. If you guys have any questions or you guys want me to analyze anything, just put it in the chat and I'll take a look. Otherwise, I'm going to go down this entire watch list right here and I'm going to draw my zones so that I'm going to be ready for the Forex trades this week off the 4 hour. So Ollie wants me to take a look at GU first. So I'm going to take a look at GU before I go through all these other pairs. So here's GU. So I'm going to do a naked analysis here. So basically, this is how I start my analysis. There's a naked chart here. What I do first is I turn on the K2 SR indicator so that I can identify the rejection points, right? So I know where to trade and I know where not to trade. So I'm going to draw that there. Draw this right here. Draw this right there. Right there. Oh, you know what I was going to look at, guys? So let me, once I'm done analyzing this, I'm going to take a look at US 30 because I forgot about Josh's Sunday fun day strategy. We'll see if there's any entries off that. So I'm going to get this upper zone. We have no upper zones here for GU. So the next zone is right here. I think GU is going to keep pushing up higher, Ali. This is kind of what I see happening here. So let me just go ahead and analyze this now. We have the zones drawn up. So once we have these zones drawn up, you can see how perfect they mark up the chart, right? You can see exactly where price rejects from. You can see price comes up, rejects off the zone, comes back down, comes up, rejects off the zone, comes back down. And it basically just bounces from zone to zone. And then you can see right here that the same zone has been tested way back. Where did it test back? Over here. So this is crazy because check this out. See, today's date right now is February 11 or February 14, and you go back to February 14 of 2018 and look where price is. It's exactly where it is right now. So here's February 14 of 2018. You can see how strong these zones are because we drew these zones today, and you can see that they've been tested way back in 2018. So the last time price was in this area, January 2000 or February 2014, it's in the same exact price point where price currently is now. So what do you think is going to happen here? Prices, history always repeats itself. It's going to push up and continue up higher, right? Because price is currently right here. And I'll go to price currently right now. It's in the same exact area, right? So what do you think is going to happen here? I think this is going to continue pushing up from this point to there. And then if it repeats what it did in 2018, it's probably going to come back down from here before shooting all the way up, right? So if I go back over here again, let me just rewind this. And then you can see right here, let me see if I can zoom out far enough. So you guys, it's kind of hard to see on my chart, but you guys can see that price right here, February 14, 2021 is in the same exact price area where it was February 14, 2018. Let me go on the daily. It's probably easier to see there. Okay, so here you can see. Wow. Okay, look. So look at February, the same date in 2016. It does the same exact thing again, right? It's in the same exact price point right here. What happened from this point? Pushed up to the next zone. It's, see, February, what was it, 14? So it was a little later in the month, February 20 something right here. But if you look at February 2018 over here, it's in the same exact price point. It went to this point, tested the structure or tried to test the structure, came back down before shooting all the way up. So you can see right here, this is the date, February 14, and look at the date today. Same exact area, right? Right here, 2018, and then again right here, 2021. So just looking at that, you can see that it's probably going to shoot up from this point. So let me go in a deeper analysis for you, and I'll just show you what I was identifying here. Because what I did was I identified this last month, not last month, like a few weeks ago when it broke the structure. So on February 8th, I identified this right here. I turned on the K2 momentum indicator, and I did the same analysis that I do for everything, right? I analyze everything the same way. What I do is identify rejection points. So it rejected off this point. We had the buy signal here. I mentioned that as soon as price would break and close past this structure, it would continue up higher, right? You guys have seen that. If you guys go back and look at my previous analysis or any of my previous live streams, I do the same thing every single time, and it works every single time. So this is why I keep applying this strategy, even though I don't trade Forex. I still trade Forex, but I'm more focused on US 30 because I love to scalp, right? We make way more money scalping rather than Forex, but it's cool because I'll set these trades and I'll just let them run. I'll make money off these trades and I'll make even more money off these scalps, and everything just adds up at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year. And yeah, for example here, so rejection, buy signal, breaking close past structure. And then from this point, I already anticipated to push up and test the next structure right here. Sorry, let me take this off. Yeah, I anticipated to test the structure up here. I mean, it's a long way to go, but I think it's going to push up. And one example for that is just looking at previous data. It does the same thing every single time. Like for example, right here, we have the rejection off this structure. We have the buy signal right here. It broke and closed past the structure, and then it pushed up to the next structure right here, right? I think we even took this trade and we hit a really nice full TP right there for about, I don't know what it was. Let me check the history here. So if I look at GBP USD, so I did call this trade right here. Oh, actually, this is the same one that I identified. So this one right here, I actually called this trade right here on February 8th. See, I identified the rejection, buy signal. I called a buy entry right there for 50 pips. And then we ended up hitting full TP right there for 50 pips. It was such a clean move because this pattern always repeats itself. If you guys can lock down this strategy for Forex, I mean, this is all you really need. I use this for the whole year. And if you look at all of our results for my Forex trades, it's just one strategy pretty much time and time again. But that's kind of what I see happening here. So like, for example, it's the same pattern, rejection, rejection, buy signal, break and close past structure, break and close past structure. And I think it's going to continue to push to the next structure above here. So that's basically what I see happening right here, Ollie. I see it pushing up. I don't know how far it's going to push up before it retraces. It might push up slightly, up to here, and then it might retrace down a little bit or, reverse. And then I think it's eventually going to hit this area up here. Like it'll hit it eventually. I just don't know when it'll hit. So I think for the time being, I do have a bullish bias right now. And I think it'll just continue pushing up. So if I turn on the pivots here, if you're using the pivot strategy, so if you guys are brand new here, you guys are probably not familiar with all the strategies, but we have multiple strategies that we use here at K2. I'll just show you the course right here so I can show you what I'm actually talking about. So for this trade here, let me just move this over. So for this specific trade here, where I identified the breaking close path structure, or right here, when I identify this breaking close path structure right here, this is using the K2SR strategy. So if you use the K2SR strategy, if you pull up the course right here, this is what the course looks like. It's going to be this strategy right over here. K2SR zone trading strategy for intraday and swing. So that's that strategy right there. If you wanted to apply the K2 pivot strategy, this is another strategy, but it lines up with this strategy as well. That would provide for another entry here. There's one entry here for the K2 pivot strategy. This is another entry right here. So if you applied both strategies, I mean, you'd be pretty deep in profit again right here. There's full TP there, and then it's on its way to full TP again right here for another 76 pips. So just keep that in mind if you guys have access to the indicators and access to my strategies course where I teach all of my strategies. They're all here. Like literally, these are the main ones that I use. I use the K2 zone strategy, the pivot strategy sometimes, and the daily US 30 strategy. The newest one that I'm using now is this one right here, the K2 Snipe Strategy. I haven't created a official video for it, but there's a bunch of live demonstrations. If you look at any of my live sessions, I go over the strategy every single day. So if you guys want to look at the previous sessions, just go on the YouTube channel, obviously youtube.com/K2 Trades. And then if you go on the YouTube channel right here, you just go back to the past live streams, and then it has every single live stream here. So if you go back any day here, like within this year, you'll see that I talk about this strategy every single day. And I show you the profits that we take, the live trades that I take as well. And everything's pretty much locked down there for you guys, if you guys want to take a look at that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my analysis for GU. Ali, I think this is probably going to end up pushing up even higher and higher. So if you're in a buy position, I think you should be fine. It'll probably keep pushing up even higher as we speak. So let me see if there's anything else here. Trell wants me to take a look at GA. Yeah, definitely. So I'll take a look at GA next. So that's pretty much GU right there. I have my zones drawn up, so I'm not going to redraw them. Next up, we're going to look at GA right over here. And yeah, looking at GA over here, let me do this real quick, guys. I'm going to, or actually, there's no point in me setting my alerts because it's already at the pivots. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to see if there's an entry using the Josh's Sunday Fun Day strategy. So let's see if we could find it. Damn, looks like we freaking missed it. Yeah, so or actually no, I think it's still technically active. I don't know if we would have taken this entry right here. How far did it push up from that point? Actually, it's still technically active. So if you guys were applying Josh's strategy, I mean, obviously this isn't my strategy right here, but this is one that Josh uses. He takes the first valid momentum signal on market open right here. So it's technically in some heavy drawdown, but it might come down because it's still technically active. And there's that sell signal right there. So US 30 might come down quite a bit before it ends up pushing up higher. But who knows? It's not something that I would want to trade because like I mentioned, looking at the sentiment over here, there's too many people short, and I don't want to trade where there's too many people trading. 76% of people are short right now. So obviously, if you saw this on market open right here, I mean, it's funny because if people saw this on market open right here, so market opened right over here at this point. So if you were to see that the market opened right here, and then you saw that everyone was short and you entered the short because you wanted to copy everyone else, you probably would have gone stopped out because it ended up pushing up pretty high after market open. So just keep that in mind. But just looking at Josh's strategy here, it's technically still active, but it's not something that I would take because it's just too risky on my end for me to take something where everyone else is trading right there. So if you did take Josh's Sunday Fun Day strategy, this would be the entry here. But I wouldn't have taken it because of the sentiment. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's go back to GA. I'll keep an eye on US 30 because I'm still looking for some scalps there. If we have some scalps to the downside, I'll take them that way because I'm just going for 500 pips anyways. Otherwise, we're going to keep looking for possible long positions if they appear. But anyways, going back to GA over here, I'm going to take everything off the chart. Here we have our naked chart. First thing I do is I turn on the K2 SR indicator. Once I have that on, I'm going to draw my zones on the chart so we can identify these rejection points. So we have that point right there. We have that point right there. We have that point right there. Small zone right here. Another one right there. Another right there. Right there. And another one right here. All right, so looking at GA right here. I'm gonna turn off the K2 SR indicator. Just looking at GA right here. Looks like price has been within this area. So it's within this range right here. It was in this range back in December and then back in early December. So it entered the zone back on December 7th, and it's just been bouncing between these areas since then. If we look back at previous data, so it looks like it was back in the zone back in October, September, July, and then again right here in July of 2019. So let me see if it repeats itself back in February. Not necessarily, it was above here. So just looking at this here, once we have these zones drawn up, I'm gonna do what I did last time, turn on the K2 momentum indicator. And right here, we have a bullish momentum. So currently right here, we have a rejection off this structure. We have a buy signal right here. We have price breaking close past structure right here, right? It's the same exact pattern that we just looked at for GU. So looking at GA over here, with these requirements here that have been met, what I anticipate is for price to continue pushing up to this structure. So it looks like what happened here was a break and retest. So price broke structure right here. Basically what happened was price broke structure, it retested the structure, and then now it's swinging back up this way. So I do have a bullish bias right here. Technically, if you wanted to take this trade, this would be the entry. The TP would be right here for about, I don't know, 50 pips, something like that, maybe less. But yeah, if you were to take, it might be less actually, it might be like 45 pips. Because it's just, I usually like to have my TP before the next structure. So this is pretty much the setup that I see playing out right here, Trell, if you're like looking to take this trade. Obviously, the requirements are met here for the K2 SR strategy. I think it's going to keep pushing up to test this structure. So if this ends up happening, it'll hit your full TP before it tests the structure. And then once it reaches that structure, it can do one of two things. It can either reject off this point, come back down, or it can break the structure and close, then end up pushing up higher. So if this happens right here where it breaks and closes past the structure, then I'm gonna do the same thing, enter another long position right there, and then just ride it to another full TP that way, right? It just keeps repeating itself. But other than that, I mean, the next point of target would be this structure right here. So that's basically what I see happening here, Trell. Not sure if this will happen. Let's just pull up the indexes. So we have the pound versus the odd right here. I'm gonna pull up the pound index right here, and I'll put up the Aussie index right here. So this is kind of iffy because both of them are bullish, right? So if they're both bullish, that means that GA is just going to go sideways. So this might not even push up for now. It might go sideways for a bit until one gets stronger than the other. So like, for example, here, these are both bullish. So in order for this to go up, we need the pound to be stronger. We need this to push up, and we need the Aussie index to go down, right? If this happens right here, then you're going to see this go upwards. If it does the opposite and this comes down or this goes up, so if this does the opposite where the pound index goes down and the Aussie index goes up, then it's going to do the opposite. If that happens, then price is going to go down. Because if you guys are familiar with how price moves, obviously when price is going up, that means that the first currency is stronger than the second currency. When price is going down, that means the second currency is stronger than the first currency. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be looking at the indexes for each respective currency, because that's going to give you a bigger picture as to how it's going to move it, like the next couple hours, the next couple days, the next couple weeks, et cetera, et cetera. If they're moving up, if they're both moving up like they are right here, you can see that. Let's see, so on the 12th over here, a couple of days ago, like before market close, you can see that this was going down while this was going up. So with that said right there, you can see that price actually came down right here, right? So that's how you could analyze the chart from like a bigger scope if you're trying to see, where it's going to move at. So I probably wouldn't take this trade right now. Trail, I'd probably wait for this to, for this to come down. And then for the, well, that's the main thing. If this continues pushing up and this comes down, then you're going to see this shoot up. So if I wouldn't enter this trade just yet, I would probably just trail it. You can probably put like a buy stop somewhere around here. I mean, you'll probably enter late, but you're better safe than sorry, right? You don't want to enter right away and then it ends up just tanking on you from this point. I would just put like a buy stop right here so that once price shoots back up, it'll automatically fill your order and then you'll be in the trade. But I personally wouldn't enter right now because I just see it going sideways for a bit until, one goes the opposite of the other, because there's no advantage right here for either currency. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, let me see if there's anything else to look at, before we continue on. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we're just going to keep looking at things that people are asking for, and pretty much just a breakdown of each pair, because I need to draw my zones for the Forex pairs anyways. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go down this watch list, draw my zones, and then if you guys have questions, I'll answer those along the way as well. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So let's start off with odd cat over here. I'm just going to go ahead and draw my zones. And you guys can see how easy it is to draw these zones so that you guys can be prepared for the week. If you're drawing on the 4 hour, generally these don't change very often. And you don't really have to update them until probably like Wednesday. I usually draw my zones on Sunday, and then I'll check them throughout the week. If they need to be changed, I'll update them. If not, I'll just wait until, Wednesday or so to take that trade. I mean, to update my chart, sorry. Getting these all mixed up here. All right, so I drew my zones there for odd CAD. That looks good. So I'll just analyze this as well. So like, for example, here, we have a buy signal. So I think this is gonna, if this breaks above the structure right here, it's the same pattern that I mentioned, right? Rejection, buy signal, break structure, pushes up higher, break structure, pushes up higher, break structure again right here. What's gonna happen if it breaks structure up here? It's gonna push up higher. So that's what I see happening for odd CAD right there. Let me move on to the next one over here. So that's it for odd CAD. I'm gonna move on to odd CHF. I delete everything off the chart, turn on my K2 SRs. And the same process, it's the same process for every pair. This is what I do every Sunday because I prepare for the week so that once the week, starts to pick up, obviously it's gonna be slow right now. It's probably gonna pick up later tonight, if not tomorrow. I'll be ready to take these trades. Because that's the real key. The real key is having these zones on your chart. Once you have the zones on your chart, I mean, most of the heavy work is done for you. You just need to identify where momentum's going, and then you just catch these trades as they break structure. And it's simple. It's the same strategy I use for every signal. This is the same strategy I use for every Forex signal that I send out. So all the signals sent out in the premium is just applying this one strategy. Nothing different. Just look for 2 requirements, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, looking at odd CHF right now, it's within the structure. If it breaks past it, so like for example here we have a buy signal, it's the same exact thing. If price breaks and closes past the structure right here, then I take a buy position. It's easy as that. There's really no guesswork. But what I want to do is I want to pull the next zones above so that once price does break the structure, like I'll know where to trade. So if price breaks structure, you can see that the next structure, the weekly resistance, is way up here. So just imagine that if price was to break structure right there, you have a long way to go and a lot of profit to make off this if that ends up playing out. So for example, if price ends up breaking past the structure, like look at the next structure, it's way up here. So you got a long way to go from here all the way up here to make a ton of profit, right? And if we're looking at the Aussie index, I'm gonna look at it again right here. We have the Aussie index here, and then we have the Swiss index over here. So you can see that the Aussie index is pushing up, meaning that the Australian dollar is going to be strong, while the Swiss index is pushing down, right? So if that happens, what do you think is going to happen here? This thing's going to skyrocket. So I'm just waiting for it to break and close past the structure, then I'm gonna make a bunch of money off this trade right here. That's all we're waiting for odd CHF. So I'm just gonna wait for that. When it happens, it happens. But until then, we're just gonna wait for it to happen. So here's odd JPY. Do the same thing here. Draw my my zones. And it's the same process over and over, guys. Literally, a lot of people like to overcomplicate trading, but in reality, if you just choose something simple like what I do here every single day, I mean, you can be very profitable trading. And this is the same strategy I've been applying for years now. You know, it's been, if I've been applying this for years and I haven't really changed anything, I mean, you know, that's a good sentiment to like understand that this actually works long term. Because if you guys are familiar with other strategies, a lot of other strategies are seasonal, right? You'll see strategies that work during certain times of the year, and then it just stops working. For this, I've been using this every single day, no issues. So obviously that, you know, that'll give you a hint that this probably is something that you should probably learn if you want to just use one strategy over and over again, which just makes things a lot easier. Takes the guesswork out. Looking at odd JPY right here, it's currently within a zone. So it's probably going to push up to this next zone up here. Yeah, I mean, looks like that's the next move for odd JPY. I'm trying to see where the zones were for that. So I think that was a weekly zone. So odd JPY is inside the weekly zone. As you can see right here, there's no zones within it. So I think this is going to continue pushing up. I have a bullish bias for odd JPY, and it's still got a long way to go. So just looking at odd JPY right here, it's got about how many pips for where price currently is? It's got like 60 pips from where price currently is. So I probably would have taken this trade right here when it broke into this structure. So just looking at this here, we have a buy signal. You guys can see here, it's the same exact strategy that I've been explaining to you guys, right? There's really no difference here. There's a rejection from this point. We have the buy signal right here. We have price breaking close patch structure right here. And then what happens from that point? If you take a long position here, obviously it would hit full TP because you're reaching for the next structure up here, which it ends up hitting right there, right? So same situation again right here. We have a breaking close patch structure right here. So if you were to take this trade over here, another long position from this point up to this next structure over here, and it's still technically active. So I'm thinking about maybe entering this position, but I might just take some scalps. I might not take the big move. So let's go back to US 30 real quick. Look what happened to US 30. It's pushing back up, right? That's what I mentioned before. I said sentiment is low, so price is probably going to come down from this point. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to rewind and see what I mentioned earlier, it's doing exactly what I said. I said that price was at the all-time high right over here. So I said price was probably going to come down, test the pivot, and then shoot on up, right? It's doing exactly what I mentioned. And it looks good. So if I see some scalps here, I'm going to take these scalps off US 30. You know, otherwise we're going to keep waiting for those entries to appear. But I'm going to go ahead and continue analyzing everything else as we wait for that. So there's odd JPY. Let's see what else is next. Odd NZD. Right here, I'm going to delete everything off this chart. And you guys can see that the market's moving really slow, right? So, you know, obviously right now there's no real need for you to really have to take any trades right now, because I mean, price just isn't moving. If price isn't moving, you shouldn't have to force any trades. You only want to take trades when they're like actually available. So you got a signal right there for US 30. We'll keep watching for that. I don't think we're really going to get anything from now until then, though. So there's our zones for odd NZD. Same situation here. I think this is going to keep pushing up to test that structure above there. You know, turning this on right here, we have it started from down here, buy signal, breaking close patch structure right here, next to the next zone, right? Same thing again right here, price broken close patch structure, another buy signal onto that next structure above there. So you guys can see here, it's the same requirements that I'm looking for every single asset, and it just keeps repeating itself. So that's it for odd NZD. Let's move on to the next one over here, odd USD. We do the same thing, delete everything off the chart, have a naked chart right there, zoom out, turn the K2 SR indicator, and pretty much do the same thing. I'm just preparing for the week. So I'm probably just going to finish wrapping this up, guys, you know, drawing up my zones, and I'll probably start, you know, looking for some scalps for these other pairs. Because obviously, you know, US 30 is kind of too high right now. We're just waiting for some zones to populate, and then we'll see if we can catch something before we call it a night. And I don't expect the market to really move that fast today because you guys got to remember that tomorrow is, you guys got to see that tomorrow is a holiday. It's a US holiday. So market's probably going to be slow for the most part up until the holiday's over. So let me, all right, cool. So there's odd USD. There's too many zones there, so I'm not really looking for any trades in this area. I don't like to trade within the zones. Here's CAD CHF. Do the same thing here. Draw my zones. Actually, are the zones still the same? So if the zones are the same from last week, I usually just keep them on because it's just too much work for me to go and redraw everything when the zones are exactly the same. So you can see here, these same zones are still there. So there's no point in me redrawing them for CAD CHF. It just didn't move much last week. So there's really no point in us redrawing those zones there. See these zones right here, are they the same? Yeah, pretty much. We could just connect these zones right here. There's a next zone up there. So CAD JPY looks the same as well. And this looks pretty good. It looks like all the JPY pairs are kind of pushing up, right? So CAD JPY right here, it looks like price broke structure, you know, same situation that we've been looking at. And we have the rejection right here. Buy signal. It broke and closed past structure above this area. So this is technically a long position that's active right now for CAD JPY. So it's on its way to TP. Other than that, let me see if there's anything else. Move on to the next one, Chf Jpy. I think this is one that I called last week as well. This hit full TP right here, 30 pips. Let me see if the zones are the same. If the zones are the same, like I mentioned, there's no point in me redrawing them. So there's a few that are different here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete. Actually, I don't have to delete anything. I just need to add extra zones to here. So looking at this point over here, we have this upper zone and this one down here. That's pretty much it for that. Move on to the next one, Euro odd. I'm going to redraw all these zones here because there's a whole bunch. All right. All right, that right there. Let's see. So sometimes when the zones overlap, we can just connect them. But I'll just break them for now so you guys can see how the zones are, how they look when they're kind of spread out. But sometimes it's easier to just connect them. So just looking at Euro odd right here, looks like it's dropping. I mean, obviously it's in a strong downtrend right here. If I turn on the momentum indicator, we have a sell signal. So you guys can see that earlier I was identifying buys. Right here would be the opposite. Right here we'd identify some sells. So we have the rejection point right here. We have the sell signal right here. If price ends up breaking and closing past this structure right here, then we could take a sell position from that point, right? Just write it down from here. So that's pretty much what we're looking for here. What I want to look for next is a lower zone so that I can identify, you know, where the rejection points are. So we don't have any lower zones on the 8-hour. We'll go on the daily, nothing there. We'll go on the weekly. And there we go. We have the lower zone right there. So if you guys are looking at it from this perspective, if price ends up breaking and closing past this structure right here, then we have you know, good opportunity for it to drop to this point right here for a short position right there, and then ride this down for a nice 100 pips or so. Yeah, 100 pip move right there for Euro odd. So I'll be watching that. The next 4-hour candle closes in about 2 hours and 34 minutes right here on this side. So that's pretty much, you know, all we'll be waiting for. We're waiting for this candle to close below it, and then once that, you know, that closes, we can look for a position right there. Anyways, let me go to the next pair here. Euro CAD. Let me see if the zones are the same. If they're the same, there's no point in me drawing them. So this has disappeared. It's not there anymore. This is gone too. Let's see. This one right here has kind of changed a bit. So I'm just going to redraw this one, or I'm just going to merge them. It's actually 2 zones now. One big zone right there. Other than that, okay, let me delete this one right here. This just became one bigger zone right there. And then this one right here, same thing right there. So EuroCAD is pretty much good to go. It's currently within a zone, so there's no point in me looking at it. Move on to the next one, Euro CHF. See if these zones here look fine. Let's see. So this zone right here is gone. The zone above there is cool. These lower zones are fine for the most part. Yeah, these zones overlap, so I'm just gonna leave those there. I'm gonna delete this one below here. And then we have another one right here. So looking at Euro CHF, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's within this area right here. I'm gonna turn on the momentum indicator. We have a buy signal there. So same analysis that I do for every single pair. Rejection from this point, buy signal, breaking close past structure. So there's technically an active position right here for, I guess, a 23 pip move right there, right? Technically still active, on its way to full TP as we speak for Euro CHF right there. This started on February 11th. I didn't call this trade because I thought it was risky. Ended up spiking down, then it shot back up right there. So let's move on to the next one, Euro GBP. Let's see. All right, so for this one right here, I'm gonna go ahead and see if the zones are the same or if they've changed. And EG is a messy pair, guys. I know some of you guys like to trade it, and I do too sometimes, but not when it's this messy. So looking at this here, I'm just gonna draw zone right there. And then we have a couple down here as well. Let me see how these line up. No, they're fine. All right, so something right there as well. Jameson's asking a question. Do you still use the KT trend meter when you consider entering a trade? Not really. Unless I'm using the intraday strategy, Jameson, I'll use it. But I don't really, it's not really necessary because you can just look at the chart and then we're trading from zone to zone. So the trend meter is, I mean, if you're trading on the higher time frame, it's not really that necessary. If you're trading on the shorter time frame, obviously it's more necessary because you're taking shorter positions in that direction. But I personally don't really use it as much for my trades because I'm trading on the 4-hour Forex. And then for US 30, I'm using the pivot. So I already see the current trend. I don't really need the trend meter. So it's not really necessary for you to really use it. But I mean, if you want to use it, it's a good extra confirmation. It's just not, it's not necessary, you know, to any regard. So back to EJ over here. I'm going to go and analyze this. Let's see. So there's a naked chart right there. I'm going to go and turn on the K2SR indicator. I'm going to go draw my zones for you guys. Right down here. Right down there. Right over here. Right there. There. And then these two up here. So we have these zones drawn up right there. I want to see what the zone is above. And there it is right there. It's currently within a zone right here on the 8-hour, but we kind of want one that's higher as well. So there's a daily, nothing there, weekly. So this is good right here. So if EJ ends up breaking past its structure, we got a long way to go up. So that's something that I would take once it breaks this structure right here. So I think for this, once EJ ends up closing past, you know, this structure right here, and that's what I see happening. If it pushes up above here, closes above here, then we can take a long position super far up, bro. Like the next zone isn't till like way up here. So this is like a 500 pip move. I mean, obviously it's not going to be a smooth move up like that, but once price breaks and close past the structure, then I could see a nice gap up. So let me see the last time it broke past that structure. I don't think it's been past that in a long time. So you can see right here, the last time it broke past that structure, it did some crazy moves, right? So like right here, you know, like I mentioned, it's not a smooth move, but you see when price broke past the same structure we're looking at right now, look how far it shot up. From this point, it shot up 300 pips. Then it retraced down a little bit. Then it shot back up another 400 pips right there, right? So you can see that once price breaks into the zone, you could go for a nice move up. So if I go back to current price over here, we're just waiting for it to break past that zone. Once it breaks past that zone, it's a nice little push up that we can catch for EJ. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for right here. But until it breaks and close past that structure, we're just going to be waiting. Because, like I mentioned, trading is a game of patience, guys. If you guys can have patience and you guys can follow your trading plan like I do every day, you guys can be pretty profitable long term, just, doing the same thing over and over again every single day. It's just rinse and repeat of the same strategy that I apply. And if you guys are brand new here, obviously, I know there's a lot of new people here. If you guys want access to the K2 indicators, just go on the website, k2trades.com right here, click on K2 strategy course, and then you can get access to all these indicators right here. And you guys can learn to trade exactly how I do every day, because I apply the same exact strategy every day and everyone else does as well. And that's pretty much how everyone locks in all their profits in K2. They either copy my trades or they just apply the same strategies that I do and do it on their own. So that's pretty much it right there. Famous Lake said you move through the charts with ease. Yeah, I know, definitely Famous. I've been trading for a while. This is I think I'm going on 11 years this year, guys. So I think this summer I'll be trading for about 11 years now. So it comes with practice and repetition. I do this every single day. That's why it's so easy for me to go in between charts and analyze things within a few seconds, because I've been doing this for years and it's just second nature to me at this point. So I'm going to go to Euro NZD right here. I'm going to go ahead and draw my zones off this. So we got that zone up there. We got this zone right here. This right here. After I finish drawing these up, I'm going to take a look at US 30 again to see if there's any entries that might have come up as we've been moving across these pairs. But yeah, looking at Euro NZD right here, same situation. Looks like we have a rejection off this point. We possibly have a sell signal. All right, there we go. So, just what I thought right there. So what I want to look for next is the next zone that's below, where price currently is. So there's an 8-hour, go on the daily, nothing there, go on the weekly. There we go. So it's a messy chart. It's probably something that I'm not going to want to trade because it's so close to the next zone right here. Yeah, it's a little too messy for me to want to trade this, but I'm going to go ahead and take a look at US 30 again. So you can see right here that price, I think it's going to break past the all-time high, guys. This is the all-time high right here, and I think it's going to break right through it. Let's see what the sentiment looks like right now for US 30. If it's still pretty high, then I think it's going to continue dropping. Looks like the IG, there's something wrong with the IG sentiment. It's not updating at all. So we'll just look at the IG sentiment here on daily FX. Yeah, we got about 76% people short for US 30 right now. So if more people are short, market makers and institutions are going to do opposite. They're going to push it up. So I'm just waiting for some scalp entries here. I mean, if you guys really want to take a speculative trade, you guys can take a buy and just let it run, like a small lot size, and just let it run, because I think it's going to keep pushing up. For me though, if you guys have been with K2 for a while, you guys know that I like to take careful trades. I don't take trades that I'm not sure about. I only take trades that I'm 100% about. And I do think this is going to push up. If you rewind to the beginning of the session, I explained that it was going to push up, and it's doing exactly what I mentioned. I said it was going to come down a little bit, test the pivot, and then it was going to shoot right back up. That's exactly what's happening here. So if you guys want to take a speculative buy, you guys can. But I'm not going to take any trades that I'm not 100% certain about, because obviously this is still speculation right here, right? We're not sure if it's going to break and close past here. We're not sure if it's going to continue pushing up. But if you ask me, that's probably what I see happening. It's just, I wouldn't put real money on it until I'm like 100%, because when real money's involved, that's when emotions come into play. And I don't want to take any trades that I'm going to regret. So we'll keep watching it, but I'm not going to take any trades on my own just yet. So let's pull up the next one, your USD right here. So we looked at GU earlier. GU looks like it's going to push up. So just looking at this here, damn, look at all these zones. All right, I got to redraw all these zones. So looking at EU over here, I'm going to go ahead and redraw all of these zones right here. All right, so these look pretty solid for the most part. Connect those two right there. Connect these down there. All right, cool. So your USD is currently within this zone right here. In order for me to take a buy, I want it to close above here. so that I can take that long position up until the next structure right there for about 40 pips. I wouldn't take it like anywhere in between here, because like I mentioned, when price reaches these zones right here, price can easily reject off any of these points, reject off here, reject off here, reject off here, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd be waiting for it to close above here before I take that trade. But that's pretty much it for your USD. I already analyzed GA over here, so I think we're good off that. GC over here, let me just check out the zones, see if they're the same. If they moved a lot, I'm just going to redo everything. So for the most part, they're kind of pretty solid. Let me see if there's anything else here to look at. All right. So looking at this right here, let's adjust to that slightly. Add another zone right here. Other than that, GCAD looks like it's bullish. So looks like it's bullish right here. I think if I turn on the momentum indicator, we have a bullish candle. Yeah, we do. So right there. So right here for GCAD, we have this same analysis I've been looking at, rejection off this point, buy signal right here, break and close past structure right there. So this is probably going to push up to this next structure right over here. Zoom out from that point. Yeah, right over here. So it's probably going to push up to that point right there. Let's see what else we got over here. So that's GCAD, GCHF. Thankfully, I didn't take this trade right here. It's a messy trade. Looking at this over here, I don't really like trading the CHF pairs, guys. If you guys, if you guys have been part of K2 for a bit, you know that the CHF pairs are really tricky, especially because they're such a highly manipulated pair, especially during COVID, because they're a safe haven currency. So if there's some bad COVID news, it'll spike CHF like out of this world. It'll literally spike it where you would never expect it to. So I'm gonna draw these zones real quick and just connect that one down there. Let me see. Yeah, I don't really like CHF pairs. They're a little too messy for me to like really take seriously. And the pips aren't. I mean, the pips are worth a lot more, and they move a lot slower than others. So you could be holding on to this pair for like days, if not weeks, for it to hit. It's not really like it's not how I like to trade, because I'm not much of a swing trader. So looking at GCHF right here, let me get that upper zone right here on the weekly. All right, cool. So going back to the 4 hour right here, it's currently broke above the structure. So I think it's going to keep pushing up. So like, for example, right here, we have the rejection off this point. We have the buy signal right here. It broke and closed past structure, pushed up to this structure right here. It broke and closed past structure again right there. So what do you think is going to happen from that point? It's going to push up even higher, right? So that's pretty much what I see happening here for GCHF. Yeah. Technically, a long position is active right now if you took this trade. Right it up there for about 80 pips. Like I mentioned, it's a slow moving pair. So we're probably not going to see much movement until Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, so that's it for GCHF. Move on to the next one, GJ over here. Everyone's favorite, GJ. And you can see here, so I drew this up last week, right? It's the same analysis that I've been drawing, and it played out exactly like I mentioned here, right? Rejection. So like, for example, here, rejection, buy signal, break past structure, push up, break past structure, push up, break past structure, push up. Same thing, same thing. So like, again, you're here on Friday, price broke past the structure and it pushed up, right? It's the same thing. So price is currently within this next zone right here. It's probably gonna push up to this next zone up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and analyze this from scratch again so that we can just get the new zones. I don't know if there's new zones here, but it's better off that we actually get them down before we really look into it for deeper analysis. So looking at this point right here, it's cool. It's cool right there. It's good right there. Let's connect one big zone. Another one right there. Let's fix that a little bit. There we go. Another one right there. Right there. And again right there. So that looks good for the most part. Let's see what's if there's a zone above it. All right. All right, cool. So there's a zone right here. and the next zone is like literally right above it. So, I mean, GJ is a messy pair. I don't think this is something that I personally would want to trade right now, just because, you know, there's so many rejection points. So just looking at this point here, it's currently within this, I think this is the weekly zone, the weekly resistance. So it broke into the zone, but you can see this probably reject off any point here, off this point, this point, this point, this point, etc. So it's just too risky for me to want to trade it. I mean, if you guys like to trade GJ, you guys can. If you guys want to apply the scalping, oh, look at it. US30 is doing exactly what I mentioned, right? So if you guys took that buy that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, it's pushed up in profit pretty nice. So if you took it off this rejection, I mean, it's in profit about 300 pips. Not a lot, but it's in profit. So if you guys rewind to the beginning of the session, you guys can see that it did exactly what I mentioned, right? So the sentiment is high. You don't want to trade where everyone's trading. If everyone's short right now for US30, you don't want to short it because you're probably going to lose. See, like market open right here. Today's the 14th, market open right here. Everyone started shorting US30 right here, right? If you were shorting it like everyone else, everyone is like, oh, it's at an all-time high, it's going to drop, right? It did the exact opposite. It tricked people, first, so people would enter some short positions, and then it skyrocketed up here. So I feel bad for whoever entered that short position for US30. You know, I told you guys that you guys should do the opposite. And if you guys follow what I said, you guys should be pretty nice in profit right now. So right here from market open, it's already pushed up about 1,000 pips. So it's doing exactly what I mentioned. I kind of wish I took that trade, but it's all good. I'm just going to be waiting for some scalps, right? I mean, it's all good. I'm not tripping because I'm going to, regardless, I'm going to make some profit off this as it continues to push on. But if you guys, if you guys follow what I was mentioning earlier, it did exactly what we thought it would do. So I'm going to keep watching it. Obviously when price here, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to set an alert on the pivot. So if it comes back down and touches the pivot, it'll alert me, and then I can possibly come back and look at it for a scalp or so. So we're done with GJ right here. Move on to the next one, GN. All right, let me see if the zones are the same. If they're the same, there's no point in me drawing everything. All right, so I'm going to delete this one down here. Let's see. Famous is asking, do I trade DE30, which would be the DAX 30? I personally don't trade it, but a lot of people in K2 do trade it. I went over it earlier. If you wanted to apply the K2 Snipe strategy off the DAX, it works exactly the same. So I think we were looking at earlier over here, and I pull it up for you. Here we go, the DAX 30 over here. If you were to apply the same strategy that we were just looking at, there were a bunch of entries that were available. Where was it at? Like right here. So Famous, I'm not sure if you're new here. I'm pretty sure you're new here because I haven't seen you in the room before. But if you're not familiar with the strategy that we apply when we scalp, it's a pretty simple strategy. You just need the K2 indicators. And I'll put the requirements here again for you guys. So this is the K2 Snipe strategy for DAX 30, 10-minute time frame. So first, you just want to confirm wick rejection off K2 pivot, any pivot. 2, confirm wick rejection off K2 SR zone. And I'll explain that once we get to that point. And then lastly, confirm pivot rejection not touch candle. And after that, you can enter on the open of the following candle. So, I mean, it's pretty much the same strategy we were just looking at for US30, but it works on all indices. I mean, it works on all assets in general. So first, you want to confirm wick rejection off K2 pivot. This green pivot right here, these 4 lines right here are the K2 pivots. It's a K2 pivots indicator. And basically, you just want to confirm a rejection off this green pivot right here. So it could be any pivot, but obviously right here, it's the green pivot. So that's requirement number 1. Requirement number 2 is wick rejection off K2 SR zone. So it's rejecting off this zone right here. I drew this after, pulling up the zones right here. So if I turn this off, you can see that there's a zone right there, but I just drew my own zone to make it a lot easier to look at. So, once those are confirmed right there, you just confirm that this wick rejection off the pivot isn't touching the candle body. It's way down here, so it's perfectly fine. Once those are all met, you can enter on the open of the following candle, which would be right over here. So you enter that trade right there. This is a move for about, I don't trade DAX, so I'm not sure if this is 299 pips or 2,099 pips. But you know, whatever that is, we just play it out and it hits full TP right there. So it's the same strategy that we apply for US 30, but it works on anything. It works on the DAX, works on the UK 100, works on S&P 500, it works on everything. But yeah, I mean, just looking at this here, you know, if we see any entries here, then maybe I'll give you a call if I find one. But see, the zones are way down here. The zones haven't populated up here yet. Once they do populate, then we can look for some entries. But until then, you know, obviously there's no entries available at this time. But it does work. It works on the DAX. There's other people here that trade DAX, but I personally don't because I'm located in the US, so I'm asleep during London session. That's why I focus on US 30 because obviously it's a US asset and I'm awake during that time. So that's pretty much that. Let's see what I had looking over here. So I'm going to finish my zones for GN. I think I didn't. All right, so I'm just going to finish drawing these right here. And then I'm going to get the upper zone as well. So we got that set up right there. Just hook this up right there. And yeah, GN looks cool. So once GN breaks and closes past this structure, somewhere around here, we can take that, you know, that long position right there. All right, let's move on to the next one, GU. I already analyzed GU earlier. So I forgot who I analyzed it for earlier, but it's pushing up. It's still pushing up in profit. So it's technically looking good. And it's probably going to hit full TP, you know, by the end of tomorrow, or if not by the London session, if it ends up pushing up, because it's about, let's see how many pips from full TP. Actually, it's only 36 pips. So it might be able to hit full TP by London session. All right, move on to NZD CAD. Let me see if these zones are proper. If they are, there's no reason for me to redraw them. All right, so it looks like for the most part, they're pretty much the same. Just gotta extend this up a little bit. Other than that, looks like for the most part, they're cool. I'm just gonna move this up slightly. There we go. Move this down a little bit. All right, everything looks solid for NZD CAD right here. I can probably see like possibly a buy signal appearing right here because we have the rejection off this pivot. I mean, off this structure, and it's right there. So I mentioned that there would be a buy signal there. It's exactly where I thought it'd be. So we have the rejection off this point. If this buy signal closes, it would provide for a long position right here to this next structure for about 26 pips. Not bad. But we'll take a look at this if this candle does close. This candle closes in about 2 hours. So we have a lot of time from now until then. But when that does happen, I'll go ahead and take a look, and then we can, you know, analyze it from that point. All right, so NZD CHF right here. Let me zoom out from this point. So I want to make sure if the zones are proper. Let's see. Yeah, the zones look pretty much the same for the most part. The only difference is that there's a new zone right above here. So I'm gonna draw that right there. So I think this is gonna be bullish as well. So we'll see how that plays out. NZD JPY. Check these out right here. Let me check this out right here. All right, that's cool. I don't think there's a zone down here. Let's see this right here real quick. Nothing there. Next thing up is right here. It's at a resistance. That should be cool. Yeah, other than that, so NZD JPY is pretty messy. It's getting next to this resistance, so I probably wouldn't trade it for now. I'd probably give it some time. Let me see. Famous said, let's see. Famous said, did you already break down DXY? If so, I'm just going to rewatch the video. So I haven't yet, Famous. I'll take a look at that right now, actually. So the last pair I looked at was NZD JPY. The next one's going to be NZD USD. But I'll look at DXY right now for Famous real quick. So let me just go back to the DXY right here. So I'm gonna do the same analysis I did for all the Forex pairs, for the indices, for the cryptos, for everything. It's the same exact analysis, right? We have the naked chart right here. I'm gonna turn on the momentum, sorry, the K2 SR indicator right here. So from this point, I'm gonna do the same thing and draw my zones, right? It's pretty much, it's the same exact analysis, guys. There's nothing really different about the analysis. You know, I draw my zones first, and then I confirm the direction of momentum using the momentum indicator. And then from that point, we can analyze it deeper. So first and foremost, we're gonna draw these zones. Let's see, these zones kind of overlap a lot. So I'm probably just gonna create this Yeah, we can just connect these two zones right here. It's right here. Damn, the DXY looks super messy. It's all good though. I mean, it happens. Sometimes the DXY just ends up looking that way. If there's a lot going on in the world, I know Trump's impeachment trial was going on last week, so it kind of pushed price around. They're also talking about stimulus and the coronavirus news, obviously. So right here on DXY, let me go ahead and hide that. So I've drawn these zones right here, and you can see that these zones, I mean, they're pretty solid zones. You can see that price usually consolidates once it reaches like the bigger zones right here. Big consolidation, breakdown of this zone, rejection back up. And then there's a storyline that kind of plays out from this point. So just looking at the DXY right now, I'm going to turn on the momentum indicator. Right here, we have a sell signal, right? So we have the rejection off this structure right here. And then we have the sell signal right here. And then obviously you can see it's continuing to push down from this point. But this might not be a smooth move down. Once it breaks below here, this will be a smooth move because then we can take a short position and ride this from this point all the way down to here for about 448 points, right? Depending if you're trading the future or not. But just looking at this right here, it looks like the dollar index is pretty weak. The only problem here is if you're trying to trade this, there's a lot of rejection points. So price is currently trying to break this support. Once it breaks this support, it can either reject off this point, reject off this point, reject off this point, or this point. So there's a lot of points of rejection here. And just looking back at previous data, you can see that it's rejected at these points in the past, right? So price did the same thing, came down from this point, reached this support right here, and then it shot back up. So there's a lot of uncertainty that can happen here because you can see the same thing happen here, right? So like I mentioned right here, price can reject off this point like it did right here, reject off this point like it did right here, or right here. These are all rejection points where price can reject from. So the DXY can do a lot of things. It just depends on like how the news plays out this week. Let me pull up CNBC real quick. I don't know if there's anything new with regard to the US dollar. GOP senators who voted to convict Trump are now facing backlash in their home states. Yeah, so they're having they're trying to they had Trump's impeachment trial. And I mean, with this stuff going on right here in the world, the market's probably going to move kind of crazy. It's not going to move crazy today or tomorrow because it's a US holiday. But I think on Tuesday, we're probably going to see the DXY kind of bounce around a bit. But I don't really see much. I don't see really much going on here, with regard to the market. Like I mentioned, tomorrow's the US holiday, so there's not really going to be much going on until probably Tuesday. But I mean, we'll see how that plays out. Otherwise, the DXY looks pretty weak. It'll probably recover by Tuesday once the holiday's over, when the markets reopen. But other than that, I think it's just going to keep pushing down. James asks, is there a way to have multiple charts marks up? Oh, sorry. James said, is there a way to have multiple chart markups so I don't have to clear my charts to apply different strategies? Yeah, Mark. So that's why sorry, James, called you Mark. James, this is how I do it right here, right? So I have this is like my official chart for Forex. So I have this set up right here for my Forex pairs. And then I have all these other ones here. So I have this just for my indexes. I have this just for US 30. And then I have this for my 10-minute scalps. And then I have this over here for my 30-minute scalps, right? So if you want to do that, just click on this right here, and then just open a new chart layout. Or if you already have another chart layout, just save it. So if you want to do that, just like click new chart layout, and then it'll create another layout. So you can have another tab where you can apply different strategies. Like for this, I have my K2SR strategy. For this, I just compare indexes. For this, I have my US 30 strategy, the daily entry that we take on the weekdays. And then here for my scalping 10-minute and scalping 30-minute. So that's what you can do, is just click this drop down right here, click new chart layout, and then you can just start from there and then just save it, whatever name that you want to save it as. Like I have a whole bunch right here. If I load these, I have all these right here for testing, results, official charts, scalping, US 30, indexes, scalping 10-minute, et cetera, et cetera. And it's pretty simple. So that's how you would do it off that, James. So that's about it for that. Let's see if there's anything else here. Famous said, I look at DXY before I trade other US pairs. Yeah, famous. So that's why I have this index right here. I have, if I'm like, for example, here, if I'm trading NZD USD, I'm going to pull up the NZD index. Like you should pull up the other indexes too, not just the dollar index. It just depends on what you're trading. Like if you're trading NZD USD, I pull up the New Zealand dollar index right there. And then I have the dollar index right here. So if I'm going to take this trade, I'm going to see how it's moving, right? If the New Zealand dollar is stronger than the DXY, then I'm going to take buys for NZD USD. Vice versa, if this is coming down and this is going up, then I'll be taking sells for NZD USD, right? So don't just focus on just the dollar index. Like you can tie it in with the other index as well to see how they're both moving. Because obviously, if you're trading NZD USD, when price is going down, that means the second currency is stronger than the first. So that means that the dollar index is stronger than the New Zealand dollar index, right? And then vice versa, if price is going up, that means that the New Zealand dollar index is stronger than the dollar index. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this. I know a lot of people like to just look at the dollar index, but it makes way more sense if you look at both of the indexes side by side to see what's stronger than the other. And that's just something that I use. I mean, it's not a main confirmation for me. It's just a secondary confirmation after I've already analyzed my trade. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, let's see. So Mohammed is asking if I'm trying to read your question. So Mohammed said, "Do you gold?" I guess you're asking me to analyze gold, right? I don't know if you're asking me if I trade gold or if you're asking me to analyze, but I'll analyze it for you right here because I think that's what you're probably asking for. So here's gold. I'm just going to analyze it from scratch. Yeah, no problem, famous. So I'm going to zoom out from this point. I'm going to go ahead and draw my K2 SR zones so I can see these rejection points. And just a reminder, guys, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can like the stream and follow the YouTube channel, that'll definitely help us continue to grow this channel. And it'll give me incentive to continue coming on this session every day with you guys to give you guys, live chart analysis and answer all your questions. My main goal with this channel is just to help people that want to learn how to trade. Obviously, I've been trading for a long time, so I have a lot of information that I can give out with regard to trading. And I just want to keep spreading out this knowledge, right? Because there's a lot of bad knowledge out there. I'm sure you guys have seen that. There's a lot of channels out there that give out BS information. And, I'm here to clear that up. So if you guys can like the stream and follow the YouTube channel, that'll definitely help us continue to grow this channel. And I'll continue to keep coming live for you guys every day. So here's gold right here. I've drawn my zones. The next thing I'm going to do is turn on the momentum indicator right here. We have a bullish momentum right there. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw my rejection from this point. So this is the same pattern that's happened like right over here, right? So from this point right here, we have a rejection from this point. We have a buy signal right here. And then you can see from this point over here, when price ends up pushing up from here and breaks the structure, it just keeps pushing up higher. So we have the same pattern setting up again right here. We have a rejection off this point. We have our buy signal right here. So what I anticipate happening with gold is that it's going to continue pushing up from this point. However, price is just ranging within these two zones right here, from this upper zone to this lower zone. So it's probably just going to keep bouncing around from this point. It's going to bounce up to this point, and then one of two things can happen. Price can break above here, or it can reject off this point and come right back down and just range within this area over here. However, looking at the dollar index, so you see this range over here, it's a big range, but looking at the dollar index over here, the dollar index is super weak. So right here, if it keeps pushing down, gold moves opposite of the dollar, right? Because it's a safe haven currency. So for example, here, if the dollar keeps pushing down, then gold's going to keep pushing up. That's why I have a bias here for a buy, because I anticipate it to keep pushing up higher and higher. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at gold over here, I think it's going to keep pushing up higher. But you never know what's going to happen. If the dollar index, something happens with the US dollar, like if you pull up CNBC and there's like, oh, something crazy happens, economy's back to normal, COVID's been solved. I don't think COVID's going to go away anytime soon, but if it does, if there's a big change with the pandemic and things just get better, then the dollar index can easily spike up. And then if that happens, then gold's just going to spike down, right? Because they move opposite of each other. But right now the dollar index is pretty weak. So we could probably see this push up higher and higher until there's something else that happens. But like I mentioned, gold is just, it's within this big range right here. So if I go ahead and just delete these two right here, so if I delete this and I delete this, you can see that this range right here has been, it's been pushing for a bit, right? So it can just keep bouncing within this area here. But I'm gonna go ahead and put those zones back on just so you guys can have a clear picture where the rejection points are. Because obviously this zone has been tested a lot, and same with this zone right here as well. But yeah, I do have a bullish bias for gold, and it's probably going to keep pushing up higher and higher from this point. 76 Capital is asking, what platform do you use? I use TradingView. That's pretty much what we're using right here. And that's, this is what I do my charting on. So I use this for pretty much my Forex trades because I just link my Forex.com account to here and I trade directly off this platform. But for US 30, I use MT4 because I trade off FTMO and Hugo's Way. So I use multiple platforms, but most of my work is done here on TradingView. And this is what's been used for the most part. Oh, thanks, Famous. I never got a donation on here before. I think it's the first time I got a donation on this. So thanks, I appreciate that. I don't even know how to use this. Yeah, thanks, Famous. I appreciate that. Nice, nice. All right, cool. So that's pretty much it for gold right here. And just a reminder for you guys here that are brand new, if you guys want access to, the K2 Telegram group where I pretty much share everything, like all my trades and stuff, you can sign up for free. Just go on the website, k2trades.com, and just click unlock your free access right here. And you'll have access to the free intro course and all the free Telegram groups. If you want my, real-time trades where I take them at the same exact time, you can sign up for the premium signals here, but it's not necessary. It's only if you guys want that. And if you guys want access to my strategies, you can sign up here as well. But this is all optional. Everything's free here. You guys, like I come live for you guys every day and I do this live every morning, except Saturdays, or, you guys can just sit in for free and copy my trades or, get free analysis and advice from me. But if you guys want access to the premium stuff, it's available, but it's not necessary. It's just up to you guys if you guys want them. And obviously there's benefits that come to that. Like if you have a strategy course here, you have access to one-on-one mentorship with me. So if you guys want one-on-one treatment to learn how to trade like me, I can teach you guys. So with that said, let's move on to the next stuff over here. See if there's anything else that we're missing here. All right, cool. So I think that's about it for this. Let's see if there's anything else. So that's it for gold. Let me move on to the next one. Actually, let me check US 30 real quick. Yeah, so US 30 is playing out pretty nice, guys. Kind of wish I took that buy when I told you guys to buy down here, because if you guys did take that speculative buy that I was mentioning, it's not that far in profit. It's still in profit about 300 pips, which is pretty nice. But obviously, if I see some scalps, we'll take some. I just don't see any right now at this time. So let's go back to the pairs over here. I think I've analyzed for the most part everything. Let's see, NZD USD. I think I did draw the zones for this, right? If not, actually, let me just check real quick, because I think I might have missed it. No, actually, these are fine. Actually, I'll redraw these zones. I'll delete everything off the chart, analyze this from scratch, and draw my zones from here. So we have this lower zone right here. We have these zones right here. Actually, I'll just connect this as a big zone. It's kind of no point in this right here. All right, that zone right there as well. And that one right there as well. All right, cool. So that's it for NZD USD. Right here, let me turn on the momentum indicator. Like I mentioned, the US dollar is weak right now. So if it continues to push down like that, and the New Zealand dollar keeps pushing up, they're actually both kind of weak right now, because it's a bearish candle right here and a bearish candle right here as well. So for NZD USD, this might just move sideways for a bit until one goes opposite of each other. Looks like the NZD might be pushing up a little bit. So if that happens and it rejects off the structure and shoots up from this point, then we can anticipate this to shoot up even higher. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to see if there's a higher zone that we can identify. There we go. Higher zone right there. So it's kind of close, but if price ends up breaking and closing past this structure right here, so we have obviously a bullish bias right here. If price ends up breaking and closing past this structure right here, then it'll probably push up even higher to this next structure above here. But there's only a small space there. So it's only about 30 pips, which is, it's decent if you want to scalp this up, but it's just, obviously it's going to be a little bit of a risky trade here, because the resistance here is like too close. And obviously I don't like taking trades that are too risky. So that's it for NZD USD. Next up is USD CAD. So I don't know if, actually we didn't take this trade. I don't think I called any of these. But let me just see if the zones are on proper. Let me just delete everything off this and we'll just draw the zones from scratch. So we got a zone down here. We've got a zone right here. Nice. So it looks pretty bearish right here. I think if it breaks this lower zone right here, we can take a sell and then ride this down further. All right, cool, perfect. So for USD CAD right here, looks like price is trying to break this support. If price ends up breaking that support right there, so same analysis I've done for every other pair. We have the rejection off this point. We have the sell signal right here. If price ends up breaking, closing past the structure right here, and it's probably gonna keep pushing even further from this point down here. So if that happens, we can take a short position right here and then ride this down for about 40 pips right there. Pretty nice. Cool. Yeah, so if this happens right here, then we'll have a nice little drop from this point. So just keep that in mind. Like I mentioned, we trade off the 4 hour on Forex. So this next candle closes in about 1 hour and 52 minutes. So if this ends up closing below here, I'll probably call a sell for you guys. And you guys can take this trade for a short position right there. But until then, we're going to be waiting and sitting tight. Wow, look at US 30. Look at that thing go. Man, I wish I took that trade. Now I regret it. But it's all good. More trades are going to come. It's not like, this is the end all be all right here. But like I was mentioning, guys, so if you look at the sentiment, I keep reminding you guys, sentiment here, there's 76% of people are short. You don't want to be where everyone's trading, because if you were following everybody here, look what happened. You would have gone stopped out, right? Because market opened right here. What, 714? Yeah, right here. So market opened right here. And if you were thinking like, oh, it's at an all-time high, right? Because all-time high is like, I don't know, right there. Okay, so if you were there before the market opened, so for example, right here, if I rewind to before the market opened right here, this is where the all-time high was, right? Or not exactly, it's above here. Yeah, so this is the all-time high. So if the market opened right here, what do you think people thought? See how it rejected off this all-time high? This is probably where everyone started entering all those sells. Like, for example, here, there's so many people that are short US 30. If you entered your sell right here, you would have been totally screwed, because whoever entered the sell right there, check it out, they got stopped out. Boom, stop out. So don't follow what everyone's doing, guys. If everyone's trying to take a sell and then you see that the sentiment is like crazy high, like it's above 75%, don't take that trade, because you're probably gonna get stopped out and it's gonna keep pushing higher and higher. So if you guys see that, usually do the opposite, right? It's always what I recommend. And it looks good so far, because I mentioned to enter a buy here if you guys wanted to take that speculative buy, and it's just pushing. But I wouldn't enter now. This is too late. Now don't enter at this point. I'd probably wait for it to come back down, provide for another push upwards, and then you can take that buy from that point. I wouldn't enter off this point, because I feel like it's about time for some retracement for US 30. Let me go back to the other pairs over here. We just analyzed USD CAD. Next up, we have USD CHF. Let me go ahead and delete everything off here. So I'll just redraw these zones, because the CHF pairs are usually pretty messy. All right, so just looking at this here, I'm going to go ahead and redraw my zones down here. We have another one right over here. Another one right here. This bigger one right down here. Let's see. So that looks good right there. And then this one up here. So looking at USD CHF, like I mentioned, the dollar index is super weak right now. So what we're going to do next is we're going to compare the dollar index to the Swiss franc index right here. And I mean, obviously the Swiss franc is stronger than the US dollar, right? Just looking at these two right here. So with that said, we're probably going to see this continue to drop down even further. So this is probably going to keep dropping down even further from that point. Let me check the momentum indicator. Yeah, we have a sell signal right here. So we have the rejection off here. We have the sell signal right here pending. If this ends up closing below here, this is too close. I wouldn't want to enter right there. But if it does close below here, we can take a nice sell right there for about 50 pips. So I'll keep watching this. The next candle closes in about an hour and 50 minutes. So we have a lot of time left off here. But if that ends up closing, I'll call trade for you guys. Okay, here's the last pair here that we need to look at on my watch list. So the last pair here is going to be USD JPY. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Here's the naked chart. Turn on the K2 SR indicator, and I'm going to draw my zones for you guys. So we got this right here. We got this right there. This right there. So this is my last pair, guys. If you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat right now so I can answer your questions. Otherwise, I'm probably going to sign off for the night. The market's just moving too slow right now, so there's not really much for me to really look at. I will keep watching US 30. If I see some scalps here, like I mentioned, it's going to come back down from this point. If I see some scalps here, I'll call them in a Telegram. But I'm probably going to go off live, just take a break because there's not really much to look at right now. But if you guys don't have all your questions answered right now, just a reminder, I go live every day at 6 to 6:30 a.m. Around 6:30 a.m. when New York Stock Exchange opens, and I'll be trading live with you guys. So if you guys don't get your questions answered today, just join in on the live session tomorrow, which would be a better time to sign on anyways, because the market's just dead right now with everything barely opening and with the US holiday tomorrow. So we'll be trading like late London session tomorrow up until close. And then from that point, we'll be checking back on for Asia session after that. All right, let me just finish. And EJ is like such a messy pair right here. It's kind of hard to see where price is moving through. So looking back at the 4-hour right here, you can see that price rejected off this point. It's the same analysis that I've always mentioned. We turn on the momentum indicator right here. And if you guys took this trade here, obviously we had the rejection from this point. We had the bias right here. So if you were to take this trade, this was a long position right here to the next structure over here where it would have hit full TP for about 30 pips. And then now price is currently at this resistance. So with this over here, price can, there's one of two things that can happen, right? Like I mentioned before, price can either reject off this point, come back down, or it can break above and continue up higher. So what I would wait for is for price to break and close past its structure. If it ends up breaking, closing past its structure, then you could possibly take this right up, similar to what happened here. See, it's the same pattern. Right here, we have the rejection from this point. We have the buy signal right here. We have the breaking structure here. Pushes up. Breaking structure again right here. Pushes up. Breaking structure right there. Pushes up even higher. And it works both ways. Again, right here, we have this breaking structure. We have the rejection from this point. We have the sell signal right here. As soon as price breaks structure right here, it comes down, right? So you can use this in both directions for buys and for sells. But for example, again, right here, we have this rejection, buy signal, push up to this structure. If it ends up closing above this structure right here, then odds are it's going to keep pushing up to this structure over here again. So just keep that in mind. But just currently right now, there's just no entries available for UJ. So that's pretty much, that's pretty much it for that. Let's see. So Peter said, Shawn, what is the site where you got the blue and red info bars from? Is that IG Sentiment? So yeah, Peter, it's IG Sentiment. So it's the IG client sentiment, but it's off Daily FX. So if you just Google US 30 sentiment, it'll pull up right here, dailyfx.com, IG Sentiment, and then you can look there. For some reason, the IG Sentiment, the actual website's not updating, which it happens sometimes where the data is just delayed, but this is it's pretty much the same thing. It's just on a different website. So just go to dailyfx.com, or you can just Google it, US 30 sentiment, and you'll find it here, Daily FX sentiment, and then you can pull it up from there. Let's see. Famous Flake said, what's your win rate? I seen what you put Telegram. You guys killed it last week. Here, let me see. So I don't have like all the data from like this year so far. Oh, actually I do. So let me just pull it up real quick. So I'll show you the data from last year. So last year we had, all right. So for last year for Forex, we had 462 wins and 146 losses. So if I calculate that right here, so we had a total of 462 wins plus 146 losses. So we had a total of 608 trades, right? So if I'm going to divide the wins, 462 divided by 608, I had a 75 or about a 76% win rate because it's 75.98. So if we round that up, I had a 76% win rate for Forex. Just the Forex pairs using the same strategy right here all year long for 2020. That's my win rate for Forex. My win rate for indices, which was right here, I had 91 wins plus 25 losses. So it was a total of 116 trades. So dividing 91 by 116 trades, I had a win rate for indices, which was basically US 30 and UK 100. I had a 78.4% win rate, which, I mean, it's not great. I mean, it's decent, right? It's above 70%. I mean, anything above 50% is pretty decent, but that's pretty much my win rate for indices. So for Forex, I had a 76% win rate. For indices, I had a 78% win rate. And then for the year so far, so just for January and February, we had 23 wins and 12 losses. So we had 35 total trades. So if we do 23 divided by 35 for Forex right now, oh no, sorry, this is for indices. So for indices, it was a bit rocky this year. No, it happens. Sometimes the beginning of the year is kind of slower than later in the year. So we're at about a 66% win rate for indices right now, which is fine. It's gonna bounce around. We're only in February, so we take on the entire year from January until December. We're only at 66% win rate for indices, which is cool. It happens. You're not always going to have a great win rate in the beginning of the year. And then for Forex right here, just for 2020, 2021, we had 36 wins and 13 losses. So a total of 49 trades. So divided 36 by 49, I have a 73.4% win rate for Forex. So Forex has been doing a lot better than indices. Like just this year, it's only been like a month and a half, I guess, or like less than a month and a half. So we're still rocking, we're still about 50%. So it's completely fine with me. And I'm pretty profitable at this point. So, I mean, it's not where we want to be. Obviously, our Forex trades they're a lot higher, but like I mentioned, it's still the beginning of the year. So we have a long way to go. And with this new scalp strategy, the one that I was just going over earlier, we take so many of these trades here where I can't really document every single trade because there's just so many trades that we take a day. You take like 15 to 20 trades a day scalping. So it's hard for me to keep track of this, but this actually has a super high win rate. Like if you go back to all of the results, I document everyone's results. So if I go to my save messages here, I pretty much save everyone's profits. So if I go back to any time this year, February 11, Deswell made like 5,000 scalping US 30. These are the trades that I called. So he said in my K2 profit for the day, I usually call my trades live. So whoever wants to take my trades, they take them. Deswell took them. He locked in that much. I could go to any day this year. February 3rd, Deswell again, he made 1,000 that day. Mark over here made about 1,500. CC over here made about 1,300. It just really depends on the day, right? But the funny thing here is that a lot of the K2 members, they're making a lot more profit than me because I've been spending a lot of time on these live sessions teaching people. So I haven't been able to take trades on my own. So I'm kind of trying to limit our signups for K2 so I can just focus on my own trades. Because literally everyone here is killing it. Like Jeremy over here, she takes these US 30 trades on her own. And she locked in about 2,000 off that. And these are all FTMO guys. So just keep in mind that these big profits are people using FTMO accounts. Everyone uses my strategies on FTMO and they lock in a ton of profits and they're able to pass FTMO pretty easily. Like Billy over here, he had a 100% win rate. His lowest drawdown was 122. So he's pretty happy. He did pretty good. I mean, he hasn't had the best luck with FTMO, but after he joined K2, he's just been killing it, right? So, I try to be as transparent as possible, guys. It's impossible to have a 100% win rate. A lot of people like to say that they have a crazy high win rate, but here at K2, I'm 100% transparent with you guys. I show you guys my trades live. I show you guys my profits. I try to just do everything the proper way so that we don't fall under that little umbrella of like there's all the other scammy traders out there. Let's see, Famous, that's impressive. Haven't seen anything above 50%. Yeah, Famous. I mean, it's all about repetition, really, right? The problem with a lot of traders is they like to change up their strategies. Like they'll use a strategy and then it stops working for a bit and then they change it up, when in reality they should have just stuck to what they were doing and mastered that strategy. Because in reality, there's no right or wrong way to trade. If you have a strategy that's profitable and you're able to improve it, day after day, then that's perfectly fine. So it's just it's a hit or miss depending on how you approach the market. Nice. Famous said, I just joined Funding Talent. So I was looking at Funding Talent, and I was thinking about switching over from FTMO, but I've been with FTMO since like last June, and they've been pretty consistent. Like they pay me out every month. There's no issues with payment. And the rules they're not that hard, with my strategies, it works out perfectly. So I looked at Funding Talent. It seems like a good idea from the surface, but just looking deeper at it, I make way more profit off FTMO. That's why I just stay with FTMO, because the split's just a lot better. And with Funding Talent, you literally have to trade for I think 3 or 4 months before you get that funded account. And then at that point, it's it's really hard for you to maintain it. But I mean, Funding Talent's good too. If you want it, there's a different line between the two funding platforms. Like for FTMO, it's better for long-term profit gain. For Funding Talent, it's good in the beginning because you don't have like that whole challenge phase or whatever. You make profits right away. But I think it's like a 20% split or 10% split, which makes it difficult. But I heard they're changing it, so maybe you got in on that better plan, because I know they have a new plan where they're kind of trying to compete with FTMO, so that might be better. But who knows? If they do get better, maybe I'll switch over. But for now, I'm just gonna stick with FTMO. All right, guys. So I think that's it with the questions. So if you guys have any other questions, put them in the chat right now. Otherwise, I'll be signing off for the night, and I'll be available on the Telegram. So if you guys have questions, just put them in the Telegram and I'll answer them for you. I can analyze anything for you guys on there as well. But I'm probably gonna get off the live session. I've been on for about about 3 hours now. So I just want to take a break before I look for the next trades off the next 4-hour candle close right here on Forex. See, Famous said they switched it up now. They have an aggressive model. Look it up. Yeah, I'll check it out right now. Let's see. Funding Talent. That's what I saw. I saw a YouTube video about that, but I saw that it wasn't available to everyone. It was only available to certain people. So let's see. We got Funding Talent right here. Let's see. Let me just go search 90. I can't find it here. Yeah, because I know they have a new account, that one that you were mentioning. I saw it on YouTube, but I think it's only available to certain people. It's like people that were using it before. I don't know if it's, oh, here we go. Aggressive account. Oh, nice. Are you a more aggressive trader? All right, looks like US 30 is coming down. See if there's any zones there. Not yet. So I'm still waiting for some zones to come up for US 30 until I take some trades. Until then, we're going to be hanging tight. And it did exactly what I mentioned, right? I said not to enter at this point because it was going to come down, and it did exactly that. So hold off on entering US 30, guys, if you guys are thinking about entering. I think it might drop a little further. But looking at Funding Talent over here, overall loss, maximum daily loss. That's not bad. 10%. That's a big gap that you can mess around with. No minimum 2 days trading. That's perfect. It's easy for me. No limit on funding earnings. Oh, but see, so the problem with this is that, so I've seen this before, Famous. See how it says, this is the fine print. You have to have a live account. In order for you to get that live account, you have to make a lot of profit before you get to that point. Let me see where because if you just go on YouTube and search, the comparison between Funding Talent and FTMO, they make it like impossible for you to get to that point. So let's see. They try to hide the details here. They don't show you like that you have to make like this certain amount. They like make it impossible for you to reach the funded account or the live account that they're talking about here. Damn, they don't have the FAQs. See, they don't even have the questions here. They try to hide it so that you can't see like the little secrets of the rules right here. Let me see. Because I was looking at it, I really wanted to try it because I know I think I could pass it if I'm doing fine with FTMO. but they make it like impossible for you to get that. Let me see, aggressive. Live. Aggressive account right here. Okay. So aggressive account. Let's see. Existing patterns. Bi-weekly. Aggressive model. Okay. So live accounts aggressive must not. Oh, that's not it. Yeah, I don't really see anything here. Let's see. Famous said they said you need 3,500 to get your live account. Let's see. Yeah, I was trying to figure that out because I was watching, like, I was really thinking about like trying it out, but I was like, I'm not trying to like put money into it, and then it just not it doesn't end up being worth my. Let's see. And the problem with this too is the monthly fee. That's what kind of turns me off on this, because it's like, you got to keep paying the monthly fee. The cool thing with FTMO is like once you pass, you get the money back, and then you just keep trading it. But I don't really see the. Okay, live account. Okay, your live account is accessible once the balance reaches. Oh no, you got to get 15K right here. Famous. So if you're doing the 100K, you need to make 15K. That makes it like impossible. Well, not impossible, but it makes it really hard for you to reach. 3,500 is if you're doing the 25K. But obviously, if you're going to be doing this on aggressive, you might as well do the 100K. The 15K is really, that's a big gap for you to reach. Because for FTMO, you only need to reach 10K to reach the challenge. And if you do the scalps that we do here, like the scalps that we've been trading here, like you can see everyone's profits here. They reach like 5,000 a day. It's like not that difficult for them to pass the FTMO. But for right here, because I would do the 100K option. This is the option I would do. It's you got to make 15K to get that live account. So I mean, it's kind of similar to FTMO. It's just FTMO has the verification and the challenge. So technically, it is the same 15K, but I mean, obviously there's going to be little differences between the two. But then you got to factor in the monthly fee. Kind of sucks. And then you got to factor in these other like account violations. Because I heard once you you might have for some people, like even myself, if you have a really good week, you can pass this really quickly. But if you have a shitty week the next week, you can get screwed over, and it might be like nearly impossible for you to even get back to that point once you lose it. Because what I've seen from other people is like once they do it, they'll pass it, and then once they fail, they go in this bad spiral where they just keep losing and losing and losing, and then they got to pay the monthly fee, and then on top of that, they got to pay this to like top it off. You got to pay extra 500 again. You got to pay 500 to renew your account, stuff like that. The cool thing with FTMO is once you pass, they refund you your fee, right? So you literally are risk free. Once you pass FTMO, you're chilling because you get your money back, and then everything else on top of that is profit. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is the new account that they were talking about, but it might be. I heard they have a brand new account that's even better, but I personally haven't seen it just yet. But yeah, guys, so I think that's about it. Thanks for bringing this up, Famous. I'm probably gonna look into it a little more. Maybe it's something I'll play around with, and I'll try it out. But I mean, like for now, I think I'm all right with FCMO, since it's pretty much the same thing. It's just less risk and no monthly fee for this. But yeah, guys, so I think that's it, guys. So I'm about to log off for the night. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me on Telegram or email me at Shawn@K2Trades.com. I can answer any questions you guys have. But yeah, until then, we have about an hour and a half left on this 4-hour candle. Once this closes, I'll probably send the signals out in the Telegram group. Otherwise, if there's no signals, I'll give you guys an update, and I'll just let you know how the market's moving and the reason for me not taking any trades. But until then, guys, I'll catch you guys here tomorrow morning. I'll be live at about 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the New York session. And then we can trade live, and we'll probably be taking some scalps at that point in time. So until then, guys, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks for attending this live session. If you guys haven't already, if you guys can like the stream and follow the YouTube channel, that'll definitely help. and I'll continue to come live for you guys every morning. So until then, guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. See you guys. Have a good night.